This is Adam Graham from Pretty Much the Present, bringing you a week of old-time radio podcasts. These episodes were originally released back in 2011, and we're releasing them here pretty much as is, with only some extraneous bits such as the opening from all of the episodes after the first episode removed. Because these are old, it should be noted that any offers or promotions mentioned in the episode may not be valid unless they're currently mentioned on the Great Detectives website. Here now is a week of old-time radio detective podcast. Welcome to the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham. If you have a comment, email it to us, box13@greatdetectives.net. Give us a call, 208-991-4783, and become one of our friends on Facebook. Facebook.com/Radio Detectives. Well, this episode of the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio is brought to you by the financial support of our listeners. Well, there were 4 lost episodes between last week's show and this one. This one comes from June 14th, 1953, and it's called The Lost Lady.
William Gargan stars as Barrie Craig, confidential investigator.
Buying yourself a murder can run into pretty big money, but after that, you've got nothing to worry about. The only charge for the chair you're invited to sit in is electrical.
The National Broadcasting Company presents William Gargan in another transcribed drama of mystery and adventure with America's #1 detective, Barrie Craig, confidential investigator.
Barrie Craig speaking. When you've been a confidential investigator for long enough, you don't surprise easy anymore. A man named Adolph Beck hands you a couple of $100 to help his wife buy a hat, and you don't lift an eyebrow. You take the couple of $100 and you meet Mrs. Beck the next morning at the Beck apartment. Adolph's gone to work, but you don't miss him.
Barrie Craig?
Barrie Craig.
Nice. Will you wait?
Sure.
I couldn't very well go shopping in this, could I?
Not unless you wanted to hold up traffic. You wait while the lady changes into something that won't hold up traffic. You decide you're being overpaid. Given the chance, you'd watch Mrs. Beck even if there wasn't a nickel in it.
Ready?
Fine.
You think traffic will be safe now?
Sure. I don't know about myself, though. Oh, hold it.
What?
I'll take a look outside first.
Oh.
Well, the street looks normal. Let's go.
Ah, it's such a lovely day.
Yeah. But that's my car.
Well, can't we walk? The shop's not very far.
No.
Well, all right, but...
Safer this way.
I don't know exactly what you think you're protecting me from.
I don't either. Your husband wasn't very generous with his information.
Well, then...
He was generous with his money, though. I'm trying to earn it.
Would you believe me if I told you I didn't need any protection?
Sure, but I'd believe your husband harder, though.
Why?
He's my client. I always believe my clients harder.
All right. You go ahead and protect me, then.
Yes, ma'am. Where's the hat shop?
Well, keep right on... Oh, wait, slow down.
What?
That shop window.
Madame Fleury?
Yes, she's always got wonderful things in it. Oh, Mr. Craig.
Yes?
Stop the car at once.
Okay.
That bathing suit. The red one.
Looks like a bathing suit.
Can you imagine it on me?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think it's going to be a hot summer.
I've got to try it on. Come on.
Whatever you say.
Oh, I love to go shopping with a man. I don't get much of a chance.
What's the matter with your husband?
Adolf? Oh, he hates shopping.
Good morning, madame. Monsieur? What can I show you?
That bathing suit you have in the window.
Ah, madame has magnificent taste. It is an imported suit. I hope I have here madame's size. Ah, oui. Altogether, I import only 3 such suits. Voilà.
That's all there is to it?
Tiens, monsieur, it satisfies the law, no?
I wouldn't know.
And what is more important, it satisfies the eye of the husband. If, of course, the wife is so charming as madame.
Charm isn't exactly what a girl needs for a suit like that.
Oh, maybe not. But madame has it, no?
She has it.
I've got to try this on. Where?
This way, please, madame. Madame will find the dressing room comfortable, I think. I must congratulate monsieur.
Yeah?
There are not many women who would even dare to think of wearing such a suit. It is, of course, ridiculously expensive.
It is, huh?
But monsieur will not mind paying, eh?
Well, I guess he won't. I guess in the kind of deal he's got, he pays and likes it. Or anyway, pretends to like it. Madame Fleury wasn't quite sure how to take that. So she shrugged her shoulders, charmingly, the way the French do, and shut up. Time went by, and I got restless.
Monsieur looks forward to seeing his wife in the suit, eh?
Monsieur has been looking forward to it for too long. She's been in there over 15 minutes.
Oh, a pretty woman always keeps her husband waiting, no?
I wouldn't know about that. I still think she's been in there a long time. Would you mind hurrying her up?
If monsieur is impatient.
He's impatient.
Tiens, then I go to advise madame. Madame? Madame?
What's the matter?
Madame does not reply.
The door.
She's locked.
Well, let me. Yeah. Locks automatically?
Automatic? No, it is necessary that one moves the latch.
One has moved the latch. Mrs. Beck. Mrs. Beck. Madame Fleury.
Oui?
Get back a bit. I'm going to break the door down.
But monsieur...
I'll explain later. Right now, I'm in a hurry.
But this is barbaric. Is monsieur so jealous?
Monsieur is scared. Well, latch wasn't too strong. Oh, nobody home. Not even in the closets. But that door there, where does it go?
The back of the shop, a storeroom.
Fine. Storeroom. Nobody home here either.
But I do not understand.
You and me both. You always keep that window open?
Mais no, one cannot because of the thieves.
Well, it's open now. Yeah. Short drop to the alley outside. She could have managed it.
Tiens, you are of the opinion Madame flees?
That could be the opinion I'm of. Come on. Oh, the bathing suit, yeah, she left it behind.
The mystery grows.
Fixing that door up is going to cost you a few bucks. Here's 10.
Merci, monsieur, but what...
Put the bathing suit back in stock. I've got a feeling Mrs. Beck isn't going to return for it. There was no occasion for yelling for the police. Mrs. Beck had a right to use the back exit if she wanted to. And there's no law against making a confidential investigator look foolish. I took my foolish look over to Beck's office and let him stare at it.
But you shouldn't have let her...
Mr. Beck.
Yes?
You handed me a couple of $100 to go shopping with your wife for the next week or so. You told me you were worried about her.
Of course. And the first thing you do is let her slip out of your fingers.
I never had them on her. You didn't bother telling me my job was to act as a jailer.
I assumed you'd realize that...
The only thing I could realize was that you figured she was in some kind of danger.
Well, maybe she is. Maybe someone
No.
knew...
There was no way anyone could have known she was going to stop at Madame Fleury's and use the dressing room there. Her disappearance had to be her own idea.
Yeah, perhaps you're right.
It's a little too early to call in the Missing Persons Bureau. She's been gone only for an hour. But I know some of the boys downtown. They might stretch a regulation for me.
No.
No.
I don't want the police involved. She may simply have returned home.
She did it the hard way.
Or if she didn't... Craig,
Yeah?
I want you to find her.
Meaning you don't really think she went home?
Wherever she went, you find her.
The police do that kind of thing a lot better than a one-man outfit like me.
I don't care.
Okay, it's your money. But I'll need a few leads.
Leeds?
Look, Mr. Beck, New York's a large place. Also, it's furnished with trains, planes, and buses, leaving it every few minutes. I've got to have some idea where she might be heading and why, or else I'm licked.
I understand, but,
We'll do it the hard way. Who was your wife before you married her?
Her name was Lila Lorne.
Lila Lorne. It sounds phony.
It was her professional name.
What profession?
She sang. She was a club singer.
Where'd she have her last date before giving it all up for a home and kiddies?
She was singing at the Romany Rendezvous.
The Romany Rendezvous. East 40s?
Yes.
Fine. Before marriage, your wife was a singer named Lila Lorne, singing at the Romany Rendezvous. Now, you tell me the rest.
What rest?
You know, somebody listening in would think I was working against you instead of for you. I had to drag this information out of you. Why? There's nothing wrong with a girl singing in a nightclub. Nothing to explain a disappearing act, either.
You're shrewd, Craig.
Isn't that why you hired me?
I didn't think shrewdness would be necessary.
The way you talk, people might get the idea you didn't want her found.
I do.
Okay, then what's the rest of it?
Before Lila married me, she was sort of engaged to Eddie Myron.
What does he do? Pitch for the Dodgers?
He owns the Romany.
Keep going.
Well, Myron was very angry with Lila. And myself, I suppose. I've always been afraid that he might do something.
That's why you hired me?
Yes.
Myron didn't grab your wife. Nobody did. That flight out of the back window at Madame Fleury's was both unscheduled and strictly her own idea.
So I understand.
Meaning maybe she decided money wasn't everything?
Look here, Craig, this is terribly difficult for me.
And I'm not helping. All right, I'll get started. Only one thing.
Yes?
Suppose I find her and she likes it where she is. All Beck had for that was a stricken stare. Didn't look good on him, and I didn't waste time admiring it. I got out.
Back to William Gargan, starring as Barrie Craig, in just a moment. The old expression, "it's a small world," has new meaning today. The world has grown even smaller. In fact, in some ways, it's too small for comfort. With modern long-range aviation, enemy planes could reach the United States from any part of the world in a matter of hours. A devastating surprise attack could occur at any time. Of course, our nation has taken steps to protect us. There is an extensive radar network to detect the approach of planes. But radar can't do the entire job. That's up to us as individual citizens. Right now, the Air Defense Command needs 300,000 more volunteers for its Ground Observer Corps. This Ground Observer Corps is made up of patriotic citizens who contribute a few hours of their spare time each week. Both men and women from teenage up can join the Ground Observer Corps and perform a valuable service to our country. Write or phone your nearest Civil Defense Center or write to Ground Observer Corps, Air Force, Washington 25, D.C. Remember Pearl Harbor and join the Ground Observer Corps. And now, back to William Gargan, starring as Barrie Craig, confidential investigator.
It was a little early for the Romany Rendezvous when I got there. A handful of tourists were fighting the stakes and trying to believe they were living. There wasn't a gypsy around.
Good evening, sir. I have a splendid table.
Save it for the Iowa delegation. They're due any minute.
I beg your pardon.
Eddie Myron.
Eddie
He
Myron.
wouldn't be on public view. Lead me to him, huh?
Mr. Myron is not in, sir.
That sir must have hurt. All right, he's not in. You've done your duty like a nice little head waiter. Now take me to him.
Hey, wait a minute.
Careful, the gutter's beginning to show.
What makes you so tough?
Clean living. Well?
You didn't mention a name.
Oh, careless of me. Barrie Craig, how's that?
Craig? Private Eye?
Confidential investigator. More syllables, higher fees, class. Let's go, huh?
Okay.
Lila with him?
Lila? A friend of yours, Mr. Craig?
Very good. Forget I asked.
Yes, sir. Mr. Myron's office is down the corridor. You can see the door from here.
Thanks. But I'll take the sap first.
Let go.
Sure, the better to... Now I'll take the sap. Thanks. I get so tired of being hit on the head. Don't say it. We'd both be shocked. You were a little obvious, friend, asking me to walk in front of you. Now go back to the dirty napkins, huh?
I'll show you the...
No.
Okay.
Craig's made another friend.
What goes...
Oh, I forgot to knock. I'm terribly sorry.
Who are you?
The name's Craig. I also forgot to shut the door behind me. Excuse me, Mr. Myron. Wonder if there's a lock. Yes. Now, I feel better. I'd hate to have anyone walk in while my back was turned to him. Got a permit for that gun?
Got any authority to ask?
No.
No.
That makes us even.
No, it puts me one ahead. I got the gun.
Some days I can't keep score worth a darn.
Is this some fancy kind of hold-up?
You wouldn't keep your dough in here.
I wouldn't. But you mightn't know that.
Barrie Craig.
Do I stand and salute?
You remember I'm a confidential investigator, which makes it unlikely I'm after your dough.
Maybe I haven't got as high an opinion of investigators as you have.
You're misunderstanding me, hurting my feelings. All I'm after is companionship.
Mine?
Lila's.
Lila who?
You took too long on that one, fella.
All right. Your business has got something to do with Lila Lawn. The name's familiar.
So's the lady.
So what?
I'm looking for her.
Here?
Know any better places?
Sure. Try the Beck residence.
I already have.
Well, then we both don't know a thing.
I don't know a thing. You do.
What makes you think that?
I tossed Lila Lawn's name in your head waiter's lap. You tried to toss this blackjack at me.
Oh, that wasn't very nice of him.
He missed.
How does he feel about it?
Painful.
Well, I hope it doesn't show too badly. I wouldn't want the place to get a bad name.
We're getting away from Lila Lawn.
I haven't been near her in months.
That's why your head waiter was so sensitive? I could pry it loose from him.
Okay. Maybe I could use you on my side. Maybe even I might need you.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I got a call from Lila early this morning. First time I'd heard from her since she got married.
Must have been a surprise.
And it was even a pleasant surprise. She wanted me to meet her. She was upset.
Beck was running short of money?
Well, Beck, it seems, was running after another blonde.
That's what Lila said.
Yeah, that's what she said. She wanted me to meet her up in Creekdale.
What's Creekdale?
Well, I got a kind of cottage up there. It's maybe an hour out of the city.
She wanted you to meet her up there this morning? You agreed?
I agreed. I drove up there. The cottage was there.
And Lila?
No. Well, I hung around for maybe a couple of hours. Then I started thinking. Somebody was playing me for something. I made fast time back to town. I worried. Boyle, that's the head waiter you tangled with, got his instructions. He'd been with me all day in the apartment.
Why are you breaking down and telling me all this?
Well, partially because Boyle lost his head when you mentioned Lawn. That wouldn't make him a good witness. And partially because I don't even know what I was being set up for. I'd like you to find out.
I've already got a client.
Beck?
Yeah.
What's your job for him?
Finding his wife.
Well, that won't have to conflict with anything I want you to do.
One client at a time is all I can handle. But if I find out anything that might interest you, you'll hear from me. Or maybe from the police. That was thrown in to worry him. He was already worried, but maybe not about the right things. Even at that, he was ahead of me. I didn't even know what the right things were. I checked with Beck. His wife was still out. That left me a choice. I could do nothing. I could try the Creekdale end. According to Myron, that was a dead end. But he could be a liar.
Evening.
Good evening. You're the sheriff, they tell me.
I guess they tell you right.
I'm Barrie Craig. I'm a confidential investigator from New York City.
That's so.
That's so.
Are you figuring on setting up business in Creekdale?
Not exactly. Something else. I came up here to look through Eddie Myron's cottage.
Yep.
I thought I might find something there. I drove to the cottage before stopping here at your office.
Yep.
The cottage wasn't in very good shape.
No.
Somebody was careless with matches.
Looks that way, don't it?
Place was burned to the ground. When did it happen, Sheriff?
This afternoon. I don't know the exact time it started. Couldn't have been later than 12 or so.
Any ideas about why it started or who started it?
What were you figuring on maybe finding in the cottage, mister?
Something that might lead me to a lost lady.
That's so. What might her name be?
Lila Lawn, perhaps. Or more recently, Mrs. Adolph Beck.
Yep. Come along, son.
Okay.
There she is, son.
What?
Yep.
You found her in the cottage?
Yep.
Like that?
Like that.
You couldn't have identified her. All you can tell is that she was blonde.
Enough of the skin on her fingers left to get half a dozen prints. No doubt about her identity, son. She's Lila Lorne, Mrs. Beck. She was pretty. Once.
Yeah. Sheriff, could that fire have been set earlier than noon, say?
Maybe.
Thanks.
Doc Peabody's got no idea if she was dead or not when the fire got her. Not enough of her left. You got ideas?
I got ideas.
Names attached to them?
Not yet.
Well, you'll get in touch with me if you get around to attaching names to those ideas.
I'll get in touch with you. Goodbye, Sheriff.
Oh, just a minute, son.
Yeah?
Doc Peabody couldn't swear whether she was alive or not when the fire got to her. He'll swear to something else, though.
What's that?
She had a couple of bullets in her lungs.
The sheriff didn't have any expression on his face I could read when he let me have it. I held the post for a minute, couldn't think of anything else, and got out. I didn't mind the long drive back to the city. I needed it. Mrs. Adolph Beck hadn't been lovely to look at.
It's open. What do you want now, Boyle?
It's not Boyle.
Not... Oh. Thought we were finished for the night.
Not exactly.
What do you want now?
I've been up to Creekdale.
Well, I hope you got more out of the trip than I did this morning.
I got more.
Tell me about it.
Your cottage is never going to be the same again.
Termites?
What time did you leave there this morning?
Oh, around 12. Hey, wait a minute. That sounds like somebody's checking alibis.
Maybe somebody is.
Alibis for what?
Arson, for one thing.
Arson?
Your cottage was burned to the ground sometime today.
For...
Maybe you're careless with cigarettes.
I don't smoke. I think you better get out of here.
Okay, but nobody really worries about arson in connection with a cheap summer cottage.
What do they worry about?
Lila Lawn is never going to be the same again either. I didn't give him much of a chance to respond to that. I walked out. That would give him an opportunity to figure out what his response would be. I had another job.
Who is it?
Barrie Craig.
Oh, come in.
Thanks.
Well, it's very late.
I hadn't noticed.
I hope you've got something to report.
I have.
You found her?
Yeah.
Splendid work. Is she coming back to me?
I don't think she's got any choice in the matter.
I hope you didn't bully her or...
The reason she's got no choice is because she's dead.
Huh?
Yeah. The shortest way is sometimes the kindest. She was shot and then burned to death in a summer cottage that belongs to Eddie Myron.
She's gone back to him.
For a while, it seems like. Or maybe a shorter while than she figured on.
Have they arrested him?
Not yet. But they'll get around to it once they tighten up a few things. The way it goes, your wife ducked me this morning, phoned Myron, and met him at the cottage shortly before 12.
Uh-huh.
What happened and why right after that, we don't know for sure. What we do know is that Myron headed back for the city sometime after 12. And sometime after 12 is also when the cottage started burning.
Oh. Then it's not really proof, though.
No. That's why Myron's not under arrest. He's a suspect. You could be one, too.
Me? You're joking.
You've got a funny sense of humor. Motive. Another woman. According to Myron, anyway. But that doesn't matter, because I saw you 10 minutes after your wife ducked out. I spent time with you. You couldn't have made it up to the cottage in time for the shooting and the burning. Not after I left you.
Oh, then you were joking.
Just showing you how tricky these things can be. Anyway, the main reason I came was to tell you my job's over. Your wife's been found. I walked out. He didn't see me to the door. Loved her, hated her. The fact that she was dead meant something to him. I got out into the street and started walking, but not far. Somebody else was walking behind me. I stopped. He stopped. This wasn't my idea of fun. But it didn't matter because still another guy showed up. He didn't notice either of us, but we noticed him. I went after him, the hired man went after me. He must have made quite a procession. He turned off the pavement and walked into one of the small houses they still keep in New York City to prove that once upon a time it was a nice place to live in. I gave him a few minutes and then, while I waited for the doorbell to be answered, I scribbled a note on my card and dropped it. It would give the man following me something to think about.
Yes?
Police.
Oh, all right.
Thanks.
You're not a policeman?
No. Now, let's shut the door. I don't want the whole street to know I impersonated the cop. Mrs. Beck.
Mrs. Beck?
You sound surprised.
Like...
Maybe you're embarrassed. But the way you ducked me in Madame Fleury's this morning. I never did get to see how you looked in that red bathing suit.
It's terribly late.
It hasn't even begun to be late, Mrs. Beck. But I've got a problem bothering me. According to the police and to fingerprints which never lie, Mrs. Beck is dead. You're not dead, are you? No, which leads me to a very funny conclusion. You're not, you never were, Mrs. Beck. You don't think that conclusion is very funny?
I don't know what you want, what you're thinking.
I'll tell you. Eddie Myron said Beck was running after another blonde. You're blonde. So was Mrs. Beck, I figured.
You still haven't...
Maybe you were holding out for marriage. I wouldn't know. I'm not asking. But Beck decided he'd have to get rid of his wife. He overheard her make a date with Eddie Myron. She was scared, I guess. And so he went to work. He got hold of me, hired me to go shopping with his wife. He got hold of you, got you to pretend you were his wife until he could duck up to Creekdale, kill his actual wife, wait till Myron had left the cottage in disgust, and then set fire.
Why, that's silly.
He got back to the city by 12. You were still alive then, according to what my testimony would have to be. Then you disappeared. So I'd think Beck couldn't have killed his wife. But he did. You prove it.
I'm not doing anything.
Myron put himself at the scene of the murder at the time of the murder, with no alibi. If he'd killed the girl, he wouldn't have done that. Therefore, the rest of his story has got to be believed. That leaves you. I followed Beck here. If you turned out to be someone I'd never met before, fine. Beck's in the clear, but you're not. So what else do I need?
Killing, Craig.
Finally came out of the woodwork, Beck. Why don't you introduce me to the lady who's going to hang with you? Excuse me, they don't hang you in New York.
Oh, stop it. Stop it. I didn't know about his plans to kill Lila. He just told me it was a gag for a divorce.
Hey, that's not bad. Any jury with men this side of senility on it will go for that. Beck, it looks like you take it alone.
I don't take anything. I can take care of her.
Only trouble is, Beck, Eddie Myron was worried about me. He trailed me to your place. He trailed both of us here. I dropped a note to him when I came in. Advised him to pick a good seat. He's outside that window.
You're lying. I'll take care of you first.
I wasn't lying. Myron winged our boy prettily. The police thanked him. They tossed me a polite nod, too. They didn't seem to mind finding the lost lady either. Headquarters would be a brighter place for a little while. I wouldn't be hanging around waiting for her to come out, though. I don't like red bathing suits.
You have been listening to William Gargan in another exciting transcribed mystery drama from the adventures of Barrie Craig, confidential investigator. Tonight's story, The Lost Lady, was written by Lou Vittis. Next week, it's the strange story titled The Jade Bracelet, about which Barrie Craig has this to say.
Next week, an imported picture bride finds that marriage is murder when her future husband-to-be connives to make her set up housekeeping in the state penitentiary. Good night, folks. See you next week.
The National Broadcasting Company has brought you Barrie Craig, Confidential Investigator, starring William Gargan. Featured in the role of Flurry was Joan Loring. This is Don Pardo speaking.
Tonight, enjoy Meet the Press on NBC.
Welcome back. I may have missed something, but I'm not quite sure how the lady totally breaks Craig's client's alibi. Because if I'm understanding correctly, the fire still started after Craig met with his client, which shouldn't change the equation all that much. The only difference, it would seem, would be that the calculation for the client killing his wife wouldn't be included because she was already dead. But other than that, the detail was pretty good. I do have comments here. This one comes from Matthew via email. He says, "Well, Adam, I'm emailing you about the great lineup you have on your program now. I start my week with a hard-boiled Barrie Craig, and I move on to sweet Miss Matson. Next, I get hit with So Intense detective work by George Valentine, then some great deductions from Sherlock Holmes, and I finish my week with a great action-packed expense account. All these shows deserve 5 stars. Keep up the fantastic work. That's even reaching the younger generation. I'm 16 years old from Tennessee." Well, thanks so much for listening, Matthew, and I appreciate you listening to us over there in Tennessee. That will actually do it for today. We'll be back tomorrow with the aforementioned Candy Matson. Well, before we do get started, I want to let you know this episode is brought to you by the support of our listeners. Thank you so much for all your great financial support. Truly appreciate it. Before we do get started, I also do want to let you know we're going to go ahead and skip over the next 2 available Candy Matson episodes because the 2 episodes are Christmas and New Year's episodes. So we'll wait 2 weeks to go ahead and play it so we can play it close to the holiday at highlights. We're going to do the same thing with Sherlock Holmes. Today's episode actually comes from December 27th of 1950, and the title is NC9-8012.
Hello, Yukon 28209. Yes, this is Candy Matson.
The National Broadcasting Company presents Candy Matson, Yukon 28209.
Just a moment. People can barge in on you at the... Now, where's that... Oh, that's better than nothing. Wait a second.
Hi, Candy.
Well, Millard, my favorite footflat. You caught me at the wrong time.
Depends on your viewpoint. Shall I leave?
No, come on in. What brings you up to Telegraph Hill, Millard, dear?
You?
An interesting subject. Care for a drink?
No, I'm on duty.
You mean I'm being honored with an official call?
Sort of.
In that case, you can leave.
No, seriously, Candy. You can help me if you will.
Well, the mountain coming to the mountain.
Oh, you're not so large.
Now you can leave.
Only kidding. Here's a pitch. An acquaintance of mine, Gordon Ayres, has a little problem on his hands. Needs your help.
What is this?
Oh, don't get excited, Candy. He's an insurance adjuster for an aviation outfit here in San Francisco. A couple of months ago, a guy and his wife took off in a private plane from one of those little airports down the peninsula and crashed. She burned to death. Ayres investigated and okayed the claim. A rather fancy amount. But his company doesn't like it. They don't think the crash was legit.
It gets interesting.
He has to prove he was right. He came to me, wanted us to verify the facts. But we're the San Francisco police, and that's out of our jurisdiction.
So?
So, I mentioned you.
Oh.
He wants to meet you and have a little talk. If you can get the guy out of the soup, there's a nice little hunk of cabbage in it for you.
Mallard, I'll take it, but there's something phony.
How do you mean, Candy?
This is the first time you've ever given me a helping hand in my private eyeing.
Could be there's a reason.
Could be a reason why I'm going to take the case, too. Must be the rabbit in me. I love to nibble on large hunks of cabbage.
Do you recall the lyrics from that old song, the one that goes, "He floats through the air with the greatest of ease"? Well, that's what happened to Candy Matson, one of San Francisco's better-known private investigators. She found herself floating through the air all right, but not with the greatest of ease. As a matter of fact, it was one of the most hair-raising experiences this pert little gal detective ever ran into. Well, why go on about it? Here she is to tell you about it herself.
Well, that's the way it started. Inspector Ray Mallard, an old friend of mine, and that's all I can call him, darn it, an old friend of mine, dropped by and insisted I meet this Gordon Ayres, an aviation insurance adjuster. Two things induced me to take the deal. Mallard's big spaniel-like eyes, and the money angle. It was right after Christmas, and I was a bit short. Mallard left, and I took the slip of paper he had given me with Ayres' phone number on it, sat down by Amici's pet aversion, and doodled with the dial.
Good afternoon, Pacific Seaboard Fidelity.
How do you do? Is there a Mr. Gordon Ayres there?
Speaking.
Inspector Mallard suggested I call you Mr. Ayres. This is Candy Matson.
Oh, Miss Matson, yes. Happy to know you. I imagine Mallard explained my dilemma.
Not in detail, no.
Well, the situation is quite complicated. I was wondering if we could meet and discuss it at length. Can we get together this afternoon?
If you say so, yes.
Time is of the utmost importance, Miss Matson.
All right, you call it, Mr. Ayres.
Splendid. I'm just leaving the office now. I have an appointment down the peninsula in an hour. Do you have a car?
Yes, I do.
Could you meet me at the San Mateo Airport, Cranston Flying Service?
That's okay. About an hour and a half?
Hour and a half. Fine. Goodbye, Miss Matson.
This I didn't like. Already I was money in the hole. San Mateo Airport. Right on the water next to Bay Meadows, separated by the highway and a couple of salt marshes. Why should I have to meet the guy down there? Oh, me. Well, I drove down to the San Mateo Airport, found the Cranston Flying Service building, and got out of the car and waited. It was a nice afternoon, so I stood watching some of the planes take off and land.
Pardon me, you aren't by any chance... Oh, no, of course not.
No, I'm not by any chance. I'm Candy Matson. Are you Mr. Ayres?
That's right. I didn't expect anyone quite so young.
Well, did you want to talk, Mr. Ayres, or just stand there like a sea bass out of water?
Oh, pardon me. I want to talk, of course. By the way, have you ever flown?
On commercial airlines, many times. Why?
Would you like to take a little hop this afternoon?
What's that got to do with why I'm here?
Plenty. It'll give you a picture of what I'm up against.
In what do we fly, and who's going to be our guiding angel?
Well, we'll probably fly in that Cessna over there, and I shall do the piloting.
Well, I don't know. Have you been flying long?
About 20 years.
Oh.
And I also flew for Uncle Sam in the late mess over Germany.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
Good. Let's go into the office.
Mother told me there would be days like this. Candy, she used to say, never leave the house without your parachute. We slipped through some prop wash, and I displayed a bit of silk that didn't belong to a parachute. Then into the building that housed the Cranston office. It was typical. A glass-topped counter with various flying trophies hung about the walls. Old propellers, silver cups, pictures of planes, and assorted certificates. Ayres plopped his wallet on the counter, and the chap proceeded to check him out. We went out onto the field and climbed into the plane. Then Ayres gunned the motor, and we were taking off. This is all very cozy, Mr. Ayres, but what's the idea?
There's a very definite reason for it, Miss Matson. See that tower down there?
Mm-hmm.
No, down there toward Redwood City.
Oh, yes, I see it.
Oh, that's where we're going. About a mile east of that, there's a private airport run by a man named Folger. We're going to simulate a landing at that field.
Well, I'm still not with it.
I want you to notice all the physical qualities of that field as we come in for a landing. Notice the boundaries, the hazards, and the amount of free space a plane has, especially a light plane.
You make me feel like a latter-day Nellie Bly. Okay, Mr. Ayres, let's go. I'll watch. Fascinated as I am by flying, I started looking around. The lower end of the bay on our left, the skyline to our right, and the bustling peninsula directly beneath us. I was shocked out of my reverie when the plane turned on its side and we cut sharply to our right and out over the bay. I thought Ayres had lost control of the ship, but no, it was just a routine bank. Then another bank right, and we were nosing in toward an airfield down and in front of us.
Did I startle you?
A little. It's all right now that I know we're not playing tag with gravity.
I'm going to cut the throttle now and nose in for a fake landing.
I'm glad you told me. I'll know how to behave.
Keep your eyes open, Miss Matson. You see any high-tension lines around the airport?
No.
Any fences, highways, or any other obstructions?
No, I don't.
Now, look, this is a normal landing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I were to sit the plane down here, I'd be about a mile from the waterfront. Then if I let the plane taxi the usual amount, I'd be up by those hangars. Any problems about that?
None that I can see at the moment.
Now, look carefully. You see anything at all? Anything?
Nope. If I didn't know better, I'd say we were in the Sahara.
Okay, then I'm going to give it the gun.
Without the wheels touching the ground, we were climbing into the sky again and back toward the San Mateo airport. In less than minutes, Ayres brought the plane in for a neat landing, and we were over a very dry martini in a little spot in Burlingame. Okay, we've played charades long enough, Mr. Ayres. Cut me in on the plot.
It's merely this. The man who owns that airport, Folger, was out flying with his wife one afternoon. Brand new plane. They came in for a normal landing. Just as we did. As far as I could figure out, the plane nosed over, caught fire. He escaped. His wife didn't. As the adjuster on the case, I voted straight accident and asked my company to pay the claim.
They didn't like the idea.
Well, you know how insurance companies are, Miss Matson. Naturally, they have to be suspicious. But in this case, their fears are groundless.
Mm-hmm. What about Folger? Where is he now?
Still running the airport.
Now, let's get down to cases, Mr. Ayres. Just why did I get the free plane ride this afternoon?
Well, I've known your friend Mallard for some time. I wanted him to sign this affidavit saying the field is perfectly safe for normal flying. He wouldn't do it.
Naturally.
Naturally, being with the San Francisco police. Then he suggested you. I have to have some licensed representative of the law's signature in order to clear my neck with my company. Here, you saw for yourself. You sign it?
Whoa there, boy. Wait a minute. Feather your prop.
You mean you won't sign it?
I didn't say that. But I don't sign anything until I read the fine print, not even for my pal Mallard. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave now, after I have another olive and what goes with it. Then I'm going home. I'll call you tomorrow afternoon sometime.
But, Miss Matson,
Don't start to argue, Mr. Ayres. After my second olive, I get very stubborn. This got wilder by the moment. I was supposed to sign an affidavit clearing this joker on the basis of a 30-second buzz over a cow pasture. But oh no, I wasn't going to get caught with my flaps down, not for Mallard or anybody. I drove home to my penthouse on Telegraph Hill, dished up a warm tub, some warm soup, and then some warm blankets, and blacked out for the night. In the morning, I drove over to California Street near Old St. Mary's. I wanted to see a good luck piece of mine, Rembrandt Watson. Rembrandt's a photographer, and tops in his profession now that he's not supplying the rent for all the bistros on the Barbary Coast.
Candy, my lily, greetings.
If I was a GI, I'd slug you for that. How are you, Rembrandt?
Strictly je suis très bon. That's French.
Well, that's your opinion. And that's English.
Oh, Dove. You look as well scrubbed as Mount Diablo after a rainfall.
There's a romantic parallel.
What brings you about on this lovely day?
This lovely day. How would you like to go for a little drive, Ducky?
Let's see. I was supposed to have tea with Diogenes Murphy, the honest Irishman. But he'll understand. Yes, I'd love it. Where are we going and why?
San Mateo. And for why, I don't know.
Well, that's San Mateo for you. Anyone else going with us?
No, just the two of us.
Oh, good. Then I shan't have to ride in the tunnel. Wait just a moment, Dove, whilst I toss Henry me Great Dane a brisket or two, and I'll be right with you.
Rembrandt fed his monster. We piled into the car and whooshed off to San Mateo. On the way down, I tried to plot a course of action. It wasn't easy. As my friend Ayres had said, the field was free from flaws, and where do you go from there? I was soon to find out.
Is this our destination, Dove?
That's right.
Arid little spot, what?
Yes.
Reminds me of the recruiting posters I used to see for the Foreign Legion.
Come on, Rembrandt. I want to see something.
What, dear?
The other side of this hangar over here.
What's over there?
The burnt fuselage of a plane.
Candy girl, your sense of the macabre knows no bounds.
Can't help it. This is business.
Is that the one?
I should imagine so. Quite a mess, isn't it? Ooh, what a horrible way to go. Look it over, Rembrandt. Anything strike you as strange?
Wait a moment. Yes. Why are there tattered pieces of fabric on this side of the plane and on the other nothing but melted steel frame?
Good point, Ladybug. And another thing. Look inside the cabin there. The safety belt on the other side. Intact.
So it is.
And I should sign affidavits yet. Wait till I see that Mallard.
Pardon me. Was there something you wanted?
Oh, how do you do?
Don't like his looks, dear.
Did you want to ride? Is that why you're here? We have Cubs, Cessnas, just about anything.
No, nothing like that.
Then, what is it? I happen to own this airport, and I don't like people poking about.
The owner? Well, then you must be Mr. Folger.
Why, yes. That's right. Who are you?
Santa Claus. A little late. Come on, Mr. Folger. Let's go into your office. I'm sure we have a lot to talk about. Folger led the way, and we went into a little Quonset hut type of building that served as the airport office. There were no trophies here, nothing but bareness. On one side was a pot-bellied stove, and on the other a mangy-looking parrot inside a cage. Folger motioned us to a couple of firehouse chairs and sat down himself in one that swiveled.
Now then, what's this all about?
I'm Candy Matson. This is my friend, Mr. Watson.
I see.
I'll be frank with you, Mr. Folger. I'm working with a Mr. Gordon Ayres of the Pacific Seaboard Fidelity Company.
What?
That's right. And they're holding up payment of your claim until Ayres can get a signed affidavit verifying his judgment.
Fidelity!
What in the world?
Pay no attention, Miss Matson. That fool parrot picks up anything you say. I must admit this is somewhat of a shock.
I thought it would be. Now, is there anything you can do to help me? Pictures, diagrams, anything like that?
Yes, I have a complete file, including a newspaper photograph of the crash itself.
May I see them?
Newspaper. Quiet.
Quiet, you idiot.
Quiet, you idiot. Quiet, you idiot.
Yes, you may see them. I keep them in my apartment in the city. If you'd care to drop by this evening, I'll show them to you.
Good. Supposing you give me a call when you get in town. Candy Matson, Yukon 28209.
I'll write that down.
Candy Matson. Candy Matson.
That's right, Polly.
NC 98012.
I said quiet. Oh, someday I'll wring that blasted bird's neck. The only reason I keep her around is because she belonged to my wife. There. I'll call you this evening, Miss Matson.
We left the place, got in the car, drove back down the road, and ducked into a little clump of trees well hidden. Rembrandt looked at me as though I was losing my mind. But in about 10 minutes, we heard the sound of a car coming from the airport. It roared past us, and at the wheel was Folger. That's all I wanted. I whipped us back to the Quonset hut, fully expecting the place to be locked tighter than a drum, but it wasn't. The door was wide open.
What's the idea, Candy?
Well, I'm not sure, Rembrandt. It's just a hunch. That open door, though, means we're going to have to work fast.
Work fast? At what?
My telephone number is Yukon, not NC something or other. I have a sneaking idea that somewhere back in the dim recesses of that parrot's memory, I can get a key to this whole thing. Now, hello, Polly. Pretty Polly. Give me a pencil, Rembrandt.
Pencil? Here.
Thanks. Pretty Polly. Candy Matson, Yukon 28209. Pretty Polly. Candy Matson, Yukon 28209.
Candy Matson.
NC.
NC 98012.
98012, that's it. Thanks, Polly. Come on, Rembrandt, let's get gone with the wind. I left Rembrandt off at Diogenes Murphy's place on Van Ness Avenue and drove downtown. I ran into a present-day miracle by finding a place to park, then took the elevator up to the offices of the Pacific Seaboard Fidelity Company. I spotted Ayers' office and walked in.
Well, Miss Matson, sit down. You're as good as your word.
Thanks.
Got anything for me?
I may have, but first I want to know if you've got anything for me. Some little piece of information you've been holding out. From your own company, for instance?
I don't quite understand you, Miss Matson.
I'll come to the point, then. How in the name of Kitty Hawk could you honestly pay a claim on that wreck at Folger's Airport? The plane was obviously burned only on one side, the passengers. And also, the passenger's safety belt was still intact, tightly fastened.
You're a suspicious little thing, aren't you?
Well, I'm like the insurance company.
I made the same mistake myself. That fuselage you saw was a training plane. It cracked up on a routine flight. No one hurt. The plane in which Mrs. Folger was killed was sold for scrap a week after my formal investigation.
Well, looks like I pulled the trigger on the wrong target.
Oh, well, that's all right. As I said, I made the same mistake myself. However, I don't think it was advisable for you to go down there without consulting me first.
Oh?
Folger called me on the phone right after you left. You've given him a fine case of the jitters.
Look, Mr. Ayers, I operate in my own manner. If I saw reason to give Folger's cow pasture the once-over, that's as it should be. And if that isn't agreeable to you, you can get another boy or girl.
Oh, now, wait a moment. I'm sorry. No, you continue doing as you are.
Good.
Naturally, you want to be thorough about this thing, and I can't blame you.
Right.
Now then, what's the next step, Miss Matson?
Well, offhand, I really don't know. I'll call you first thing in the morning.
First thing in the morning, fine.
I knew what the next step was, but I wasn't telling Ayers or anybody. This was more than just working for a commission. I felt I was on to something now, and I was going to follow through. I called a friend of mine at an aviation insurance brokerage and got enough night work to keep me going until next St. Swithin's Day. I took my material home and started in. It was a history of every fatal plane crash in the United States for the past 10 years. About 11, I fixed some coffee. About 2, I started to nod. Pinched my cheeks and snapped out of it. About 4, I had some more coffee. Then at 7, just as the sky dawned red-streaked across the bay, I found what I wanted. Exactly what I wanted. It didn't tie together yet, not all of it. But the knot was now begun. It only needed a little tightening. I stretched out on the couch, set the alarm for 9, and woke up right on schedule. Once again, I got Ayers on the phone.
Pacific Seaboard Fidelity, Ayers speaking.
Good morning, Mr. Ayers. Candy Matson.
Oh, good morning, Miss Matson. How do things look?
Well, if you're referring to me, awful. I've been up all night. By the way, I wonder if we could make that flight again.
Flight?
Yes, over Folger's Airport. Only this time I'd like to make an actual landing.
Oh, why, sure. That can be arranged.
And I'd like Folger to come with us. I want him to describe just what happened as we go along.
Well, yes. This morning okay?
The sooner the better.
I'll call him right now. Have him get a plane ready. I'll meet you there about noon.
Now I had to work fast. I called Mallard, explained the situation, and he agreed to get one of his radio technicians and come along with me. We drove back down the peninsula, and I left them both at Cranston's flying service where they went to work. Then I continued to Folger's Airport. It was a little before noon, and Folger had the ship out on the runway warming it up. Hi there, Mr. Folger. Seen anything of Ayers?
Yeah, he's in the office. He'll be right out. Come on, you can get in.
Okay.
Here comes Ayers now. Here, let me give you a hand. You can sit up front, and I'll sit back here.
All right.
Up.
Thank you.
Right on time, I see, Miss Matson.
Yes.
Got the plane gas, Folger?
Yeah, all set.
Well, I guess we can take off. Here we go. Now then, Miss Matson, what's your plan?
Just do what we did before. Circle out over the bay and come in for a normal landing.
Okay. I'll banker here.
Fine. Now, is there any way for Folger to take the wheel?
I beg your pardon?
I said, is there any way for Folger to take the wheel?
Oh, why, no, I don't think so. He's back there.
That's because he can't fly, isn't that right? Isn't that right, Folger?
What's she talking about, Ayers?
I don't know. She must be out of her head. I'm not taking any chances with her. I'm going to set the ship down right now.
The way you set it down with Folger's wife in it? So she burned beyond recognition?
Why, you...
I can get the whole story, Ayers. Look at Folger, white as a sheet. He's ready to talk right now, aren't you, Folger?
Yes. I'll talk. I'll tell everything.
Including the story about the same kind of crash in Toledo, Ohio?
All right, you two, don't move. I assure you this gun is very deadly. You, Folger, open the starboard door. Go on, open it.
Gordon, you don't know what you're doing.
Oh, yes, I do. And neither one of you are going to live to tell about it. Go on, Folger, get up by the door. Go on!
God, please don't do it!
What a fine rat you are, Ayers.
You're next, Miss Matson. Just a little too darn smart for your own good, aren't you? I should have known better than to try to use a dame for the fall guy. Go on, stand up by the cabin door.
Sure. Okay. I'll stand up by the cabin. Oh. Well, Candy Girl, let's see you get yourself out of this one. I hope Mallard's still listening to this mic. Mallard, you big dumb cop, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Candy. What's wrong?
I had to tap Ayers over the head. What do I do now? I don't know how to fly this thing.
Wait a minute. I'll put Cranston on. Miss Matson, listen carefully. Take the wheel and hold it in the middle. Get your nose up a little. That's it.
How am I doing?
Fine. Now look down at the horizontal bar at your feet. Press the left one ever so slightly and turn the wheel left at the same time.
Like this?
Keep your nose up. Up. So it's just above the horizon. That's it. Keep it there. Better. Now straighten both the bar and the wheel. Slowly. Slowly.
I've got it.
Now you're headed towards San Mateo Airport. Now try to drift off to your right a little, using the opposite technique.
Better?
You're doing fine. Hang on, Candy. You're going great. Now look for the protruding gadget on the right side of the dashboard. Mark throttle. Push it in about a third of the way.
I'm falling. Mallard, I'm falling.
No, you're not. Just do as I say. You're coming in for a landing. Now don't move the wheel or the bars until I tell you to.
Well, the ground's coming up awfully fast.
You're coming in just right. Now ready? Pull back the wheel just a little. No, not too much. That's it. Okay, gal. Ride her on in. Now quick, kill your ignition. Kill it. Turn off the key.
Candy, you made it. Candy, I said... Come on, Cranston, let's get out to that plane.
All right, kid?
Yeah. My knees feel like I did the conga from here to L.A., but otherwise I'm all right.
The boys will take care of theirs. Come on, we got a report to make.
Report?
Sure. I sicked you onto this Ayers guy purposely.
What?
San Mateo didn't want to scare the guy off until they solved the case. So we cut you in on the deal without you knowing it. Candy, you did it. We've got a recording of the whole thing made over the plane's radio. Congratulations, Candy. You'll get a nice hunk of dough for this.
Nice hunk of dough of all the dirty tricks. Mallard, Oh, what's the use? I can't bawl you out now. I'm airsick. It was a very slick deal. Ayers was a top-notch insurance boy. About 5 years ago, he met up with Folger. This was in Toledo, Ohio. Folger was married to a very wealthy gal, but couldn't get his hands on any of the money. Ayers hit upon a pretty little method of mayhem back there. He took out a license plate under Folger's name, fireproofed his half of the plane, also the passenger's safety belt. Then one fine day, he came in for a landing, deliberately pancaked the ship, left the motor running, and let the crate burn, with Folger's wife in it. They collected plenty. In those days, they had the names of Smith and Jones or something like that, and Ayers was the insurance adjuster. They moved on to California, took the names of Ayers and Folger, and set about to do an encore on the same old act. Folger met another wealthy gal, married her, and set himself up in the airport business. Ayers got himself a job with a San Francisco insurance outfit, and voila, they were ready for another crack-up. My suspicions were first lit up when I saw Ayers' face. He had more scars and stitches than a well-seasoned hockey player. And that broken-up fuselage behind Folger's airport, that was another giveaway. It was a test model they'd used to make sure their plans were all set. But the real giveaway was the parrot. What a memory. NC98012 was the license number of the plane that crashed in Toledo, killing Folger's first wife. The parrot was also her pet, and Folger had kept it for sentimental reasons. He shouldn't ought to have done it, though, because through the parrot I traced the whole thing. It was a nice one-time racket, but they should have quit before the police tripped them up. Oh, yes, Ayers was convicted. And Pacific Seaboard Fidelity rewarded me quite handsomely. But that Mallard, deliberately using me for bait. I got even with him, though. I made him take me deep-sea fishing about a week later. Oh, did he get sick. Seasick. And I just stood there and laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed.
Listen again next week at this same time. For excitement and adventure, just dial
Candy Matson, Yukon 28209.
Heard tonight were Lou Tobin as Ayers, Harry Bechtel as Folger, and Jack Cahill as Cranston. Henry Leff as Inspector Ray Mallard, and Jack Thomas plays the part of Rembrandt Watson. The program stars Natalie Masters as Candy and is written and produced by Monty Masters. Sound effects were created by Bill Brownell and Jay Rendon. Eloise Rowan is heard at the organ. The characters in tonight's story are entirely fictitious. Any resemblance to actual people is purely coincidental. The program came to you from San Francisco. Dudley Manlove speaking. You are tuned for the stars on NBC.
Welcome back. This was a really fun episode, and it's one of my favorite Candy Matsons. This has got a few things going for it. It's got a tongue-in-cheek manner about it, but in some ways it's very realistic. For example, her reason for not wanting to sign off on the affidavit was pretty level-headed, and her reactions to what happens in the air was pretty tough. In the last couple of weeks, we've seen Candy end up shooting her own client, and now knocking out of the pilot of the plane she's flying in. But definitely her after reactions of being nervous about the whole situation and showing a lot of concern, perfectly realistic. So it made Candy very believable and human. So I think they did a very good job crafting this episode. This was just a great episode in making Candy very real and human. The one thing I honestly don't get about this whole plot is that the owner of the plane, who's trying to cash in on the insurance policy, kept the bird of the wife he murdered for sentimental reasons. I don't quite think that part made sense. But other than that, this was a very solid episode. Well, folks, we have crossed the 100 ratings line over on iTunes and received this comment from Fix It Fish, who said, years now, long-time listener to this and used to many other vintage radio podcasts. I no longer listen to the other ones I've been subscribed to because Adam's podcasts are simply awesome. Graham-Noggin number OTR podcast. Great. Thanks, Adam, et al. Well, thanks so much for your comment and appreciate your ratings. And encourage everybody to rate the program over on iTunes if you subscribe to it through there. You just need to choose a star rating, and that will record your rating. And you only need to do that once. All right, well, that will do it for this week on Candy Matson. Join us tomorrow for Let George Do It. And then next Tuesday, we'll be back for another episode of Candy Matson. Well, this episode of Let George Do It is brought to you by the financial support of our listeners. Thank you so much for all your support. I truly appreciate it. Today's episode of Let George Do It is called The High Price of a Penny. So let's go ahead and we will take a listen.
Personal notice. Danger's my stock and trade. If the job's too tough for you to handle, you got a job for me, George Valentine. Write full details.
Standard Oil Company of California, on behalf of independent Chevron gas stations and standard stations throughout the West, invites you to Let George Do It. The High Price of a Penny, another adventure of George Valentine.
Dear Mr. Valentine, how high is the price of a penny? Well, how high is up? I doubt if you can figure it. In fact, I doubt if you'll be much of any good in the present case. And if you think I talk in riddles, you're right. However, Mr. Valentine, I'll waste my time by telling you the facts. I'm a prematurely retired lawyer and tax consultant. Neighbors of mine out here in the Fish Lake country, name is Mom, elderly man and wife, they spent a penny once, a number of years ago, on a lollipop. Let me tell you, the price of that penny is going to be more than $1 million. In plain words, those nice people are going to be taken. But just to really mix you up, I think you and I can stop the swindle with a diamond bracelet. Now, here's what I'd like you to do. Telephone them all. Tell them you're friends of mine and would like to come
visit the country. I'll lay the groundwork. They know there isn't room for you to stay in my place anyway. Maybe you can't do any good, but at least you can wear down your teeth for a change, biting on the penny. Sincerely, Amos W. Phelps.
Spoken like a
He
lawyer.
certainly has a lot of faith in you, doesn't he?
$1 million penny, diamond bracelet, lollipops.
Faith in your curiosity.
Well, come on, Brooksy. Hand me the phone.
Look, Mr. Valentine, they're not home, I said.
Well, when will the moms be home?
When they get tired of being where they are now. And don't ask me where that is, because I don't know. Playing 500 maybe, or helping somebody pickle some peaches. I don't know. They get all kinds of fascinating ways to spend their time.
Well, who's this speaking? One of the servants?
Mister, just call back later, will you?
But I'm afraid that I'm a friend of Mr. Amos Feld, and I wanted to
And the
talk to you.
housekeeper isn't here either, in case you're thinking of beating Feld's time with her. Sure, Mr. Valentine. I'll be a good boy. I'll write it all down.
You're too kind.
Yeah, and don't be insulted. I'm right in the middle of a poker game, and my luck isn't good. My name is Clifford. I'm the Mom's nephew. Come to live here for a while, so don't worry. They'll get your message all right.
Clifford, huh?
Yeah. Good night. Keep 'em rolling.
Oh, Brooksy, maybe there is a penny. A bad penny.
Name of Clifford?
Yeah. Come on. We're not going to wait for an invitation.
Oh, yeah, the mom's place is around here somewhere.
road to the right, I think, mister.
How about Mr. Amos Fell? He has a small cabin or something.
Gosh, I don't know. It's kind of late. My mother will
Well,
be mad.
Fish Lake, you must know where that is. Kid your age in the summertime.
Oh, sure, mister. That's where I was today. Well, I'm so late walking home. I got a bet on with another kid, see? And using only worms, I got 3 of the best looking...
Yeah? Trout? Well, where are they?
Well, anyway, it's the road to the right. First turn to your left. It's pretty far. I hope you have better luck than I did, but I'll bet you don't.
Here's a turn, George.
Yeah, so dark you can't see the signs.
Everybody wishing us bad luck. I doubt if you can do much good, says Mr. Bell. And that boy, there was something funny about the... George!
See that?
What was it?
Down on the brush there, I don't know.
It looked like lightning.
Somebody with a flashlight, maybe.
There, again.
I'll find out quick enough.
George, be careful.
Easy. Yeah, take your own advice. Those rocks are loose.
Hey there, stand still. Messing up the scenery. The birdie don't like it.
What in the...
All right. All right. Pass on. Pass out. I don't care.
Flashbulb, that's what it was.
At this time of night, for heaven's sake, taking pictures
It
of
ain't
what?
for nature study, lady. Stand away from the fender there, will you?
The fish... George.
Used to be a fender. Brother, what a wreck that must have been.
The car must have rolled all the way down from the curb.
I know. It's horrible, but stand back. That's it. Got to get it from this angle. Car didn't roll, lady. It bounced.
What about the people? There's blood in there.
It's a bad corner. Over it went. That blacktop rolled slippery in the evening. Oh, they hauled them out hours ago. Hauled them out dead.
Oh, no. George, it's such a big car.
Should be. Belongs to the Morms.
What did you say?
Man and his wife live up the road, sole occupants of the car. Mr. and Mrs. Frederick Morm, real nice and real rich. Only long about sunset, they clipped their last coupon.
But listen, Buster, we were on our way to see the Moms. Say, who's been there? Who investigated?
Highway Patrol and the city police, both. Now, if you'll let me finish up, get pictures of the skid mark.
Well, what did they say? What did they find?
He was driving, that's what they said. Mrs. Morm killed instantly, sitting beside him. You know how it is. Steering wheel gave him a break for an hour or so, I guess.
What do you mean?
Found his body where he crawled back up toward the road to flag a car for help, I guess. Only trouble is there aren't any cars on this road, so he just died there.
But why?
An accident, my friend. No other traffic. They just slipped going around the corner. Ask the police if you don't believe me. Phone in the next house down the road half a mile.
Slow down, will you, Buster? Why'd they leave you behind to take pictures if they were so sure it was just an accident?
I'm losing my sleep for the insurance company. They want pictures to close their report, and they'll want to know what I see nosing around. And you know what it is? Nothing. Not nothing. Now you're happy?
No. Come on, Brooksy. This was no accident.
If it's murder you're thinking of, you won't do any good around here. Waste your time being wrong, that's all. It's an accident.
Yeah. I'm coming. Yes.
I just wondered if we could use your telephone for a minute. There was a wreck half a mile up the road some time ago, and I wanted to...
Valentine. That's who you are. George Valentine.
Mr. Fell?
Yes, come in. How convenient I live so close, huh?
Well, we didn't expect
You enjoy my meager hospitality? Place isn't much. Tired with bad health, you know. So I confine my extravagance to doctor bill. But I'm happy. Sit down.
You're happy, huh?
Yeah, I know. Bad taste. I heard about the accident. Shame, wasn't it? However, that's the way it goes. Nothing we can do. It's all over now.
What was it in the first place, Mr. Fell?
Oh, you mean...
The double talk in your letter, bad pennies and bracelets. And you kept saying there was nothing we could do even then.
Oh, yes. I'm a skeptic, Miss...
Brooks.
Oh, yes, of course.
You were worried about this guy Clifford, this nephew of the Moms. Was that it, Mr. Fell?
Worthless tramp. Of course that was it. He was the one the Moms bought a lollipop for 15 or 20 years ago. He's been trying to get something better out of them ever since. He's one of those young men watches every angle. You know what I mean. Counts every penny.
He came to live with them.
They were suckers, I told you. Well, Mr. Mom made a lot of money, and the boy was his relative. But he even took in the missus, too. I tried to warn them, but they wouldn't listen.
And I could stop the swindle with a diamond bracelet, you said.
It's all over. What difference does it make? Yes, that's what I wanted you for. Kid never earned a penny in his life. But bought a bracelet for Mrs. Mom, and was she impressed? I tell you, he's the kind who plays every angle.
But how did he pay for it?
That's what I meant, Miss Brooks. Diamonds. But how did he pay for them? Fair size ones, too. Well, I checked into him a little. He tangled with the law once or twice. I had an idea you might be able to find his little gift wasn't exactly legal, where he got them, or... What's the matter? What was my angle? Is that what you're thinking?
Well, their housekeeper is a friend of yours, isn't she?
You haven't got a job anymore, so you don't have to be wrong. She is, and so what? My angle was trying to make the blinders off some nice people, that's all.
Mr. Farrell, I want to check what the police had to
Don't be a detective, will you? The mom's sole heir after his wife was Clifford.
What?
And her sole heir was Clifford, too. Don't you understand? They're both dead now. What can you do? The bad penny is going to collect his $1 million. The penny is already cashed in.
I know it looks fishy, Valentine.
Look, Lieutenant Riley.
The best accident men on the force say there's not one chance in a million that it was anything but an accident.
This Clifford may have figured his chances, and there are some other angles we don't know about.
No. The doctors and lab men were in on it, too. Injuries sustained in the accident were what killed them both. First her in the front seat, they figure. Then him when he tried to make it up to the highway for help.
Well, what made their car go over?
A normal skid at normal speed. Now, look. You can't tamper with a car to make it go over at a certain point, can you?
No, but you...
You can't scare somebody off the road without making them jam their wheels sharp so it'll show, can you? I tell you, Valentine, it was absolutely nothing.
I know. An accident. My client says there's no more job for me. You say go home and forget it. So maybe I can't do any good out here. Or can I?
George.
Oh, I don't know, Brooksy. A hunch is a hunch is a hunch.
You going to go around and see Clifford before
Well, that's the trouble. Why? On what excuse now? He's got his money, or he will have it as soon as the probate and tax boys get through with it. No, I'm afraid he'd just throw us right out on our ear. Hey.
Huh?
That photographer, what did he say his name was? Clem?
Yes, but I don't
You
understand.
weren't watching the road, Angel.
What? Well, his car's gone. He's not... Oh, George!
Yeah. His car's gone, but he's not. What just happened, Brooksy? He's... No, he's dead already.
Oh.
The photographer who took pictures of the scene of the accident has been accidentally murdered.
We'll return to tonight's adventure of George Valentine in just a moment. How old is the battery in your car? The average automobile battery loses half of its original power in 2 years, and after that, it can give up the ghost within a matter of months. The safest thing to do with an aging battery is to have it checked regularly at your independent Chevron gas station or standard station. They'll make sure that water in the battery is at the proper level, that cables and terminals are free of corrosion. They'll recharge your battery if needed, or test it to tell if it will give you trouble-free service. And they'll be glad to show you all the advantages of a new Atlas battery. These power-packed Atlas batteries have their certified capacities plainly stamped on the side. And with a new Atlas battery, you get a printed certificate, which is a positive warranty of performance honored by 38,000 Atlas dealers across the United States and Canada. Why not have your battery inspected tomorrow? Get this car saver service at a standard station or independent Chevron gas station where they say and mean, we take better care of your car. back to tonight's adventure of George Valentine. You're bound to be wrong, says everyone, from your client, Mr. Fell, to Lieutenant Riley. And maybe they're right, because Mr. and Mrs. Mom are dead, result of an automobile accident. Well, if your name is George Valentine, you don't like it much, but how can you argue? The mere fact that Mr. Mom was worth more than $1 million, does that make him the victim of murder? No, 1,000,000 times no. Only now the other man who sang that same refrain, the photographer, Clem, has been found dead. And this time at police headquarters, there's no argument when you say that it's murder.
Looked like he'd been hit from behind, Riley, by a rock or something.
His camera, that's what it was. My sergeant found it thrown in the brush a few feet up the road.
Uh-huh. Somebody grabbed the camera. There was a fight.
What about the car? His car was gone.
Up the road, Angel. They found that, too.
Oh, they did?
Abandoned. Whoever it was took the car to get away fast.
Yeah, they must have seen us coming. Only, Riley, why do you suppose...
Oh, no, you don't. Oh, don't ask me why he was killed.
Obviously, he must have been taking pictures of something that was...
We looked around there, and we didn't see anything.
Any film in his camera?
Of course not. Or in his car either. It was all cleaned out.
Well, Riley, I've noticed that sometimes a photographer working fast shoves exposed packs in his hip pocket.
Yes, I've noticed that, too, and I've already checked, and he did. But you know what it was?
Huh?
A couple of films with specks on them, overexposed.
Mm-hmm. Still, he was killed because he was taking pictures.
Miss Brooks, whoever was watching the photographer, whoever killed him also must have killed whatever scrap of evidence there was to prove the mom's death wasn't an accident. So now you see where we are, huh? Nowhere.
Okay, then, Riley, let's start all over again. In fact, I'm going to start from scratch with the penny. Clifford, I want to see that bracelet you gave your aunt.
All right. Isn't much. Must be someplace around here, my aunt's house.
I don't understand. She wore it most of the time.
Oh, don't worry. It's someplace here, Mrs. Ford.
Tell me, where'd you get the money for it in the first place, Clifford?
Here and there. What's it to you?
Nothing, just wanted.
You might try the other dresser.
Yeah. Got a dozen diamonds, Mr. Valentine. Nicest thing anybody ever gave me, she said.
How to get on a woman's good side.
Or into a woman's will.
But I bought it legitimately, despite what Phil thinks. I'll tell you what the secret was. Picked it up on a resale. Every diamond in it was a second and had a flaw or a chip of some kind. Cost me exactly $600.
Flaw, but she never knew that.
Oh.
You never told her that.
Why should I? You couldn't see the difference.
Oh, Clifford, you're a great boy. Indian gifts real close to the chest.
George.
Yeah, Brooksy?
Lieutenant Riley called. He said no.
What? Look, what's all this?
Clifford, you better keep looking for that bracelet. This Brooks means that they didn't find it on her body. Your aunt wasn't wearing it when she died.
Oh, I'm sure it's just mislaid.
But you just can't find it. Yeah, I know. Well, maybe I'll find it myself. Let me see those negatives, Riley. Hey, hold the flashlight.
Yeah, here we are.
Films with specks on them.
George, it'll be dawn pretty soon. You'll see better.
Overexposed, I said. I'll grant you I'm no expert.
I see him all right, Angel. Easy enough mistake, Riley. Only it bothered me that a professional photographer would make a mistake with a couple of his pictures and still put them in his pocket. Besides, I remember the roads are blacktop, and Clem was up here looking for skid marks.
Here's the place, George. Here's where we found his body.
Wait a second. These negatives.
But those are white. Transparent.
Well, that's what I meant, that he'd end up with a black print.
Except for a couple of specks. Two. One there, one there.
Hey, this little blur in the corner, that must be this skid here.
Yeah. Now we're oriented.
Picture of the road, it is, isn't it?
That's right, Angel. Looking straight down on it.
Then the speck should be right about... Hey, there's nothing here now.
Wait a minute. Knife mark. There was something. See it? In the car here?
Huh?
The other one, just a foot over there. Some later car tracks have mashed it down a little, but...
The diamonds, George, what else would he have taken a picture of? The two specks? Only they're so far apart.
Yeah, the bracelet might have been broken. We know she generally wore it.
Well, there's nothing here now, that's a cinch. Either the photographer dug them out of the road, or whoever caught him here being curious did it. Hey, Sergeant. Get those men closer in here. Have them beat every bush.
George, I'm the one who's curious. If Mrs. Mom was wearing her bracelet when they had the accident, how would the diamonds from it get clear up here on the road? Their car went over. And if there were a couple of them here, what's so sinister about it? And where are the rest of them?
Not much luck, Lieutenant, unless you call this luck.
What are you talking about, Sergeant?
It's a long way from water, but they're beauties, all right.
What? 3 fish.
What?
Hey, give me those.
Aha, that does it. We got enough riddles, and you come up with...
With fish. Fish, sure, of course. 3 of them.
Huh?
Remember, Brooksy? The kid said, I caught 3 beauties today. Only we thought he was just telling a tall story, because where were they? Yeah, the whole thing makes sense now, Riley. Diamonds and all. Only come on, move fast. There's a kid we gotta find before the murderer figures it out and finds him first. That's why the kid was so nervous, Riley. Why he left his 3 trout behind. He'd been at the scene of the accident.
Hey, there he is, fishing.
Hey, you!
You scare him off. Oh, it's you.
Yeah, it's me, kid.
What in the heck
Well, that's nothing. Just somebody shooting. Teamwork will get him. Only... Mister, what do you want with me?
Get down, kid.
Up on the ridge. Keep him up on the ridge.
Come on, Riley. We're all right. Get him.
Sure, Mr. Valentine. I'll tell you anything.
Okay, kid. Let's see the diamond.
I didn't know they were them. I would have told somebody.
Sure. You didn't know who they belonged to. 6, 7, 8, 9 of them, huh?
They were just scattered there by the side of the road.
Not any of them down the grade where the wreck was?
Oh, no, sir. I didn't think there was any connection with that. There was a clasp, a catch thing. Here, see? It was caught in one of them low bushes by the road. The diamonds were just scattered along from there.
Did you find anything, Riley?
Oh, 3 empty shells. But whoever it was shot at the kid's gone now. By the time we climb out of the brush here...
By the time we do, you can make an arrest, Riley.
Valentine, before you say anything to Clifford here, I think you ought to know that he couldn't have killed his aunt and his uncle. He was playing cards at the time of their death. Well, I was playing cards with him.
What's all this?
And so were some other men.
Oh, Valentine. Here we go again. The whole case hangs on the mom's death not being an accident. On all this other stuff being a cover-up for the fact that it wasn't.
Riley, take it easy, will you? It was an accident, all right. There's no argument. You and the experts persuaded me a long time ago.
What's that?
And Mr. Feld, you told me a lot of other things, I believe, too. That Clifford here'd do anything for a few pennies. Get as much money from his aunt and uncle as possible.
But how in the world...
The whole case hangs on a few low-grade diamonds, Riley. That's why the photographer was killed. That's why Clifford tried to get at the kid. Only we beat him to it. And that's why you're a sucker staying around to listen to this, Clifford.
Go on, Mr. Valentine.
Sure. You're just counting on one thing that we'll never figure why that cheap bracelet is so important. Why you could have been up to something if the death of your aunt and uncle was an accident. Well, I know why. Double inheritance tax.
What?
Yes,
What's that?
That's right. Every penny counts. Every $100,000. It's the location of the bracelet that tips it, isn't it, Clifford?
Is it?
It's who died first, your uncle or your aunt.
But we know that she did. Remember? She was in the front seat, and he tried to get up to the road for help.
Finally, that accident wasn't discovered for several hours.
Huh?
Well, suppose it was discovered first by the ambitious miser here. Suppose he was all happy about seeing him dead. Until he noticed a terrible thing. The uncle was in the car. The uncle died first. How about that, Fel? You're a tax expert.
You don't need my help. Hey, and it was Mr. Mom's money. So legally his wife would inherit, and then it would be passed on to Clifford.
Now you're getting it, Riley. No matter how close their deaths were, a few minutes or an hour, both wills would have to come into play when the estate would be settled.
And that means 2 taxes.
You know what the tax is on $1 million inheritance? You weren't out just to save pennies, were you, Clifford? Because what you found was your aunt up by the side of the road.
Now, wait a minute.
How else could her bracelet have got caught and broken on a bush? Unless she was the one who died last, who struggled up that embankment for help. So it's pretty simple, isn't it? All you did was change the bodies around.
So we think she died first, and Clifford would inherit from his uncle, and we would think
It was
that
a
he had
body
outlived
switch, Riley. A little investment in his future, that's all. Only the interest got compounded, didn't it, Clifford? You overlooked a bracelet. And then a photographer didn't and began to get curious. He might have even figured it out. And when you counted the diamonds he'd found mashed into the road, there weren't enough. So you had to run frantically someplace else, someplace we almost led you. To the kid who picked him up and couldn't see any harm in keeping him.
Mr. Valentine, I did stay around too long, didn't I?
The nice little gift you gave to your aunt. It really came back to haunt you, Buster. The snowball.
Yeah, gun makes a lot of difference, don't it? Go on, talk away, Mr. Valentine. Talk yourself for a change.
You won't get away with this.
Let him go, Riley.
But he's got a car.
I said let him go.
As if there were any argument. Much obliged, friend. Keep him rolling.
Valentine of all this.
Cool off, will you? Keep him rolling, he says. There's a laugh.
I can see him from the window here. He won't get it very far in that car. What's that?
He's got a flat tire, Riley.
Yes. 9 diamonds from the boy, 2 mashed into the road. That makes 11. But there were 12 in the bracelet. The high price of a penny. The extra diamonds. He's got a flat tire. He found it.
Mr. Fell, I grant you that a diamond is sharp enough, but one from that bracelet would be so small it just couldn't have...
But it did. You saw it happen. You saw them catch him. Yes, Miss Brooks. It was the stone, all right.
Well, now, it would have been neat, Mr. Fell. Retribution and all that stuff, but... You see, Clifford had a flat tire because I let the air out of him.
Oh, no, now, look. When did you have a chance
a whole lot earlier. You see, I took a precaution, that's all.
But how did you know then that it was he who...
Oh, I played safe and let the air out of your tires, too.
Oh.
Mr. Fell, we're skeptical of clients who keep insisting we're bound to be wrong.
Oh. I didn't want to say it, Mr. Valentine, but now I'll have to. This business of double inheritance tax.
Oh, sure, I know. It's your field, not mine.
There was a recent ruling. You made the same mistake Clifford did. I mean, about saving all that inheritance tax.
What?
Oh, it's a perfectly logical mistake. You and he would have been absolutely correct until recently. Courts decided in a case like that the same money can't be taxed twice.
Oh.
Then Clifford didn't have to move the bodies or kill the photographer.
That's right.
And it's only because I was wrong that I was able to put myself in Clifford's place and figure out his motive.
That's right.
But what difference does it make? Lieutenant Riley caught Clifford and he confessed and... Now, one thing's sure. George, you and I are going to have this dance and forget all... Oh. No music.
Angel, this seems to be the kind of case where everybody's bound to be wrong. When we say that RPM motor oil is first choice where driving's toughest, it is not a statement made of dream stuff. It is based on fact. For example, one man in the Spokane Valley, where temperatures vary from 40 below to 105 above, drove 40,000 miles on RPM with no repair work necessary and without needing makeup oil between regular crankcase drains. But you ask motorists anywhere in the West, and they'll tell you more people prefer RPM motor oil than any other brand. Why is RPM first choice where driving's toughest? Because it's compounded to cling to cylinder walls in the coldest temperatures, even when the car stands idle for days or weeks. In sizzling temperatures, ordinary oils run away from engine hot spots, but not RPM. And this premium quality motor oil cleans your engine as it lubricates. In fact, it's the best engine insurance you can buy. Get it for your car tomorrow. Ask for RPM motor oil at independent Chevron gas stations and standard stations where they say and mean, we take better care of your car. Tonight's adventure of George Valentine has been brought to you by Standard Oil Company of California on behalf of independent Chevron gas stations and standard stations throughout the West.
Robert Bailey is starred as George, with Virginia Gregg as Brooksy. Let George Do It is written by David Victor and Jackson Gillis and directed by Don Clark. Wally Mayer appears as Lieutenant Riley. Ted Osborne was heard as Fell, Anthony Barrett as Clifford, Herbert Butterfield as Clem, Jeffrey Silver as the boy, and Noreen DeMille as Mrs. Burley. The music was composed and presented by Eddie Dunstetter. Your announcer, John Heaston. Listen again next week, same time, same station, to Let George Do It. This is the Mutual Don Lee Broadcasting System.
Welcome back. I love the research that went into this. It kind of has the feel like they wanted to do this plot and this script, but then after they wrote it, they had the idea, they researched it, and they found that, well, the law had changed. But that's okay, because most people, whether they're detectives or people willing to contemplate fraud or murder, don't necessarily stay up to the law as well as lawyers in the area of inheritance law. And I love that extra special twist as well. I know it would be a lot of poetic irony if he was done in by one of the diamonds, but the truth is I let the air out of the tires. Beautiful, well-done classic story. Well, we turn to listener comments and feedback, and we have our first review of the Let George Do It feed over on iTunes. If you like CSI, you'll like this. Interesting connection. But thanks so much for the review over there on iTunes. It's much appreciated. Well, that will do us for today. We will be back tomorrow with Sherlock Holmes, and next week join us for another episode of Let George Do It. Well, this episode of Sherlock Holmes is brought to you by the faithful support of our listeners. Thank you so much for all your financial support. Here now, we're going to, as I mentioned on Candy Matson, we're going to go ahead and skip ahead 2 weeks, and then we'll do the Christmas and New Year's episode matched up to the season. So we're skipping ahead now to January 4th of 1948, and this one is the Mazarin Stone, an original Sherlock Holmes story from Arthur Conan Doyle. Here it is.
From New York, the makers of Clipper Craft Clothes for Men and 1,036 leading retail stores from coast to coast present the world's most famous detective, Sherlock Holmes. Our stories are based upon the character of Sherlock Holmes, created by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Sherlock Holmes is portrayed by John Stanley, Dr. Watson by Alfred Shirley, and the dramatizations are by Edith Meiser. Well, here we are again in Dr. Watson's study. We find him seated in the large armchair in front of a crackling fire.
Good evening, Mr. Harris.
Good evening, Dr. Watson. Now, don't get up. You look very comfortable right where you are. And from the redness of your cheeks, I'd say you've had a good day off in the country somewhere.
Oh, that's where you're wrong, Mr. Harris. I've been doing museums most of the day, and it's very tiring work, especially with two small boys in tow.
I should think so. But where did you collect the kindergarten, Doctor?
Oh, it was a brace of nephews of mine. I was helping along with their education, you know. It's a custom in my family that the uncles must take the nephews museum visiting once a year. I remember as a boy being dragged through miles of art galleries.
But, Doctor, weren't you ever taken to the British Museum?
Oh, yes, and to Madame Tussauds. But the Tower of London was my favorite. The uncle who took me there was quite a fancier of precious stones. He explained the history of every jewel in the Crown's collection.
That must have been an education in itself. They say every famous gem leaves a trail of bloodshed and high adventure across the pages of history. And, by the way, isn't your story tonight about a famous jewel?
Oh, yes, that is what reminded me so strongly of my boyhood visits to the Tower. The famous Mazarin stone I'm going to tell you about had a history that would make your hair curl. Dear me, I little did I think when I saw it as a boy that I would ever hold that great yellow beauty in my own hands.
Great Scott, and did you, Doctor?
Before I tell you that, Mr. Harris, suppose I give you a few moments to say a few words about our sponsor's most estimable product.
Thank you, Dr. Watson. As you put it, sir, it is indeed an estimable product. So esteemed, may I say, that beginning in 1948, over 1,000 leading stores from coast to coast are Clippercraft dealers. To be exact, there are 1,036 such distinguished establishments. Those leading stores across the country are, of course, the key to the amazing values so unique to Clippercraft clothes. The 1,036 leading stores are part of the famous Clippercraft plan. In this plan, their buying power is concentrated to effect tremendous savings in manufacturing and distribution costs. Savings which are all yours. That's why truly fine Clippercraft suits are only $40 and $45. Why Clippercraft top coats and overcoats are only $40, and sport jackets only $26.50. Clippercraft values are truly out of this world. Compare them with clothes selling for many dollars more. And now, Dr. Watson, let's get back to the story of the Mazarin stone.
Yes, now, let me see. Where was I? Oh, yes, I'd been married some years and had resumed my practice when, one snowy winter afternoon, one of my calls took me in the neighborhood of Baker Street. I couldn't resist the temptation to drop in and find out for myself what my colleague Sherlock Holmes was up to. As I stood there in the falling snow waiting for someone to answer the bell, I glanced up at the window of his study, and there I saw the thin nose and saturnine features of the great detective. He was apparently deeply engrossed in a book. Presently the door was opened, and there stood Mrs. Hudson.
Well, bless my soul, if it isn't the doctor. Good day to you, sir. It's a pleasure seeing you again.
Why, Mrs. Hudson, you're looking as beautiful as ever. You don't change at all.
Nor do you, sir. You and your Belamy.
And how is the great man himself?
Him? He's in bed asleep, I think.
But I just saw him through the window.
So that fooled you, too. That's not him.
What do you mean?
Just you be going upstairs and find out for yourself. I'm not the one to be giving secrets away. Least of all, Mr. Holmes' secret.
So, he's asleep in the middle of the afternoon, eh?
Yes, sir.
I suppose that means a case.
Yes, sir. He's hard at it now, and he's getting thinner and thinner. When will it be pleased to dine, Mr. Holmes, sir, I'll ask him. 7:30 the day after tomorrow, he'll say. You know his way when he's on a case.
Yes, I seem to remember.
He's a following someone.
Don't say.
Yes, sir. Yesterday he was out dressed like a workman, looking for a job. Today he was an old woman. Fair took me in, he did. And Lord knows I ought to be knowing his ways by now. You'll see his old woman's umbrella leaning up against the sofa in his study.
Dear me, and what is this case all about?
Well, I don't mind telling you, sir. But mind you don't let it go any farther.
Cross my heart, Mrs. Hudson.
Very well, then. The case of the Crown Diamond.
What? The £100,000 burglary?
Yes, sir. And Mr. Holmes is getting it back for him. Why, would you believe it? Yesterday we had the Prime Minister and the Home Secretary sitting on Mr. Holmes' sofa, both at the same time.
Oh, I hope it stood up under the strain. And how did Holmes behave to such famous persons on his couch?
Him? He was very nice to them and put them right at their ease.
Oh, indeed.
Yes, sir. Then there was old Lord Cantlemere. Oh, you know what that means.
Yes.
He's a stiff 'un, if I do say so. I can get along with the Prime Minister, and I've nothing against the Home Secretary. He seems an obliging sort of man with a civil tongue in his head, but I can't abide his lordship.
Oh, poor fellow.
Yes, sir, and neither can Mr. Holmes. You see, he don't believe in Mr. Holmes, and he's against employing him. He'd rather he failed.
Does Holmes know that, do you think?
Mr. Holmes knows whatever there is to know.
Oh, absolutely. But I say, perhaps I'd better not wake him.
Oh, I wish you would, sir. He's not had a bite to eat since yesterday noon, and then only a sandwich with a glass of milk, and I don't dare speak to him about it. You know what he's like, sir, when he's busy on a case.
Oh, quite. Well, suppose I go up and beard the lion in his den, eh? Holmes. I say, Holmes, are you awake? He must be asleep. Well, I'll go in anyway. Same old place and the same old litter. Scientific charts, chemicals, violin, pipes, papers, all higgledy-piggledy. Oh, there's the old boy himself snoozing in the armchair in front of the window. I thought I saw him from the street. I'll just go over and tweak in the ear.
Watson, come away from that window.
What? Good gracious, Holmes, you gave me a start.
Come away from that window if you value your life.
Well, very well, very well. But I say, Holmes, this is all very confusing. Here I see you sitting in your armchair, and suddenly you pop out of me from your bedroom door. Since when have you been twins?
Yes, it is rather a startling likeness, isn't it?
Likeness?
Yes, it's a wax image of me. I'm expecting to get a bullet through its beautiful head at any moment. Would you mind drawing the blinds without exposing yourself?
Oh, all right.
It's better. Now I can come into the room.
Yes, but why all this hocus-pocus?
I'm being watched from a window across the street by a gentleman with an unpleasantly efficient air gun. Yes, Watson, you come at a critical moment.
Yes, so I gather.
How far am I justified in allowing you to share this danger with me, I wonder?
Danger? What kind of danger?
Sudden death. I'm expecting something this evening.
Expecting what?
To be murdered, Watson.
Oh, you're joking.
Even my limited sense of humor could produce a better joke than that. Perhaps you'd better go while there's still time.
My dear Holmes, you couldn't get me out of here now at the point of a revolver.
Good. But sit down, sit down. May as well be comfortable in the meantime. How about a pipe and a glass of brandy? They have to take the place of food these days.
But why not eat?
The faculties become refined when you starve them.
Oh, rubbish.
What your digestion gains in the way of blood supply is so much lost to the brain. Present, I'm all brain.
But this danger, Holmes...
His name is Silvius. Better write it down. Count Negretto Silvius. 136 Moorside Gardens, Northwest.
Moorside Gardens, Northwest.
Got it?
Yes.
Good. You can give it to Scotland Yard with my love and a parting blessing in case the murderer is successful.
Look here, Holmes. I'm in on this. I've nothing to do for a day or two.
Your morals don't improve, Watson. Now you've added fibbing to your other vices. You bear every sign of the busy medical man.
Oh, to blazes with that. I say, can't you have this fellow arrested?
Yes, I can. That's why he's determined to kill me.
Well, then why don't you?
Because I don't know where he's hidden the confounded diamond.
Oh, yes, Mrs. Hudson told me. The missing crown jewel.
I've cast my net, Watson, and got my fish. But what's the use of catching them if the jewels slip through my fingers?
And is this Count Silvius one of your so-called fish?
Yes, he's the shark. The other is Sam Merton, the boxer. He's the Count's tool. Sam's not a shark. He's a great bull-headed gudgeon. Come in, come in. Ah, Mrs. Hudson, what is it?
A gentleman downstairs to see you, sir. Here's his card.
Count Negretto Silvius. Well, so the old shark is grasping the nettle, eh?
That metaphor is a trifle mixed, Holmes.
Show him up, Mrs. Hudson, when I ring. If I'm not in the room, show him up all the same.
Yes.
Man of nerve, Watson. Possibly you've heard of his reputation as a big game hunter. What a triumphant ending to his sporting record if he succeeds in adding me to his bag. This is proof that he feels my breath uncomfortably hot on his neck.
Look here, why not send for the police?
Not yet. Not quite yet. Take a glance out of the window, Watson, and see if anyone's hanging about.
Yes, all right. There's one rough-looking fellow near the door.
That will be Sam. Faithful but fatuous.
I say, look here, Holmes, this is serious. I insist on staying with you.
But you'll be in the way.
In his way?
No, in mine.
Well, I'm not going to budge.
Very well, we'll compromise. You shall stay in the bedroom within call in case I need you.
Yes, but Holmes...
Come along. It's essential that this room be empty when the Count enters it. He's come for his own purpose, but he may stay for mine. Hurry. I think I hear his step on the stairs.
Oh, he's not in here, sir. But once you step in, I'm sure he'll be back in a moment.
Many thanks.
And now you'll pardon me, sir.
Certainly. So, this is his den, eh? His bottles and his papers and all the rest of his hocus-pocus. Softly, Silvius, softly. There's the old vulture himself asleep in his chair. What luck, eh, Silvius? One tap from my gold-headed cane.
Don't break it, Count. Don't break it.
Holmes, you?
Quite. I trust you weren't expecting someone else. I see you've been admiring my wax figure. Pretty little thing, isn't it? Tavernier made it. He's almost as good at waxworks as your friend Straubenzee is at air guns.
Air guns? What do you mean?
First, put your hat and stick on the side table. Thank you. Now, pray take a seat. Perhaps you'd like to put your revolver on the table, too. No, you prefer to sit on it? Very well. This visit is most opportune. I want a few minutes' chat with you.
Good. I, too, wish to have some words with you.
May I ask why all these personal attentions?
Because you annoy me. You have put your creatures on my tracks.
My creatures? I assure you no.
Nonsense. I've had them followed. Now, two can play at that game, my friend. Yesterday there was a sporting old gentleman. Today it was an elderly woman.
You flatter me, Count. Old Baron Dawson said the night before he was hanged that in my case, what the law had gained, the stage had lost. And now you praise my impersonations. Dear me.
It was you. You yourself?
Quite. There is the old lady's umbrella you were gracious enough to hand back to me when we collided in the Minories this morning.
If I'd only known.
I would never have seen this humble home again, eh? Oh, well, we all have our neglected opportunities.
You admit you have dogged me. Why?
You used to shoot lions in Algeria?
Well.
But why?
Why? The sport, the excitement, the danger.
And no doubt to free the country from a pest.
Exactly.
Well, those are my reasons in a nutshell.
What? You did. I'll show you.
Sit down at once and take your hand from your hip pocket. That's better. There's another, more practical reason. I want that diamond.
Fancy that.
Your reason in coming here is to find out how much I know, so you may judge how far my removal is necessary. Well, I shall say from your point of view, it's quite essential.
Absolutely.
In short, there's only one thing I do not know.
And what is the missing fact, if I may inquire?
Where is the crown diamond hidden?
Dear me. So that's it. Suppose I don't know.
You can't bluff me, Silvius. You're absolute in plate glass. I can see to the very back of your mind.
Really? Well, then, of course, you see where the diamond is.
You know then. You've admitted it.
I admit nothing.
Oh, come. Be reasonable. If not, you'll get hurt.
And you talk to me about bluff.
You see this notebook?
Surely.
You know what I keep in it?
No, I don't pretend to be a mind reader.
This book is you.
Me?
Yes, you. Every move of your filthy, dangerous life.
You know, Holmes, there are limits to my patience.
It's here, all of it. The real facts in the death of Mrs. Harold, who left you the Blymer estate.
Fabrication.
The complete life history of Miss Minnie Warrender.
You can't prove anything.
And plenty more. Here is a robbery in the train de luxe to the Riviera on February the 13th, 1892. The forged check on the Credit Lyonnais.
No, you're wrong there.
Then I am right about the others.
Oh.
Now then, Count. You're a card player. And the other fellow has all the trumps. Time to throw in your hand.
What connection is all this with the theft of the crown jewels?
Patience, my dear fellow, patience. I have the cabman who took you to Whitehall, the one who drove you away. I have the commissionaire who saw you near the case.
That proves nothing.
I have Ike Sanders.
Ike?
Yes, Ike Sanders, who refused to cut it up for you. Ike has peached.
Ike. Oh, wait till I get
Yes,
my...
that is the hand I play from. Only one card is missing. The ace of diamonds.
You'll never get it.
No? Consider. You're going to be locked up for 20 years, you and Sam, perhaps longer. What good will the diamond be to you then? None in the world. Now, we don't want you, and we don't want Sam. We want the diamond. Give it up, and as far as we're concerned, you're free if you behave yourself in the future. My commission is to get the stone, not you.
And if I refuse?
Then it will be you, and not the stone. I think it might be as well to have your friend Sam at this conference. He's waiting outside in the street. Suppose you tap on the window and motion him to come up. Oh, Mrs. Hudson will let him in. She's quite used to my receiving curious characters.
Very well. He's coming. Now, what are you going to do?
I have a shark and a gudgeon in my net. Now I'm drawing it. Up they come together.
You will never die in your bed, Holmes.
Does it matter very much? It's no use fingering your pistol, my friend. You wouldn't dare to use it, even if I gave you time to draw. Noisy things, revolvers. Better stick to air guns. But listen, isn't that the fairy footstep of your friend, Mr. Merton? Come in, Sam, come in. Rather dull waiting in the street, isn't it?
What's up, Governor?
It's all up, Sam. Put it in a nutshell.
What's this cove trying to do? Be funny? I'm not in a funny mood myself.
No, I expect not. And I can promise you that you'll feel even less humorous as the evening progresses. Now, look here, Sylvius, I can't waste time. I'm going into that bedroom. I shall play on my violin for 5 minutes. At the end of that time, I shall return for your decision. Do we take you, or do we get the stone? Now, where did I put my violin? I said this. 5 minutes, remember.
Clippercraft has a great reputation for fine quality. That's what you go by when you choose your first Clippercraft suit. And once you've worn Clippercraft, you learn how marvelously it stands up to hard wear, how very comfortable you feel in it. The long wear comes from fine materials and precision workmanship. Your comfort comes from excellent fit, resulting from skilled designing. What will amaze you is how so much is possible for so very little. Remember, Clippercraft suits are only $40 and $45. Clippercraft top coats and overcoats are only $40, and sport jackets only $26.50. These are modest prices indeed for clothes obviously worth much more. The great Clippercraft plan, concentrating the buying power of 1,036 leading stores across the nation, makes these remarkable values possible. In your own local independent store, the store you can trust. Selling expensive clothes at inexpensive low prices at the nation's finest independent stores is the great big idea behind the Clippercraft plan. That's why men who know insist on Clippercraft clothes. So be sure to visit the Clippercraft store in your city.
These leading stores in the metropolitan area are proud to add their names to Clippercraft in your suit, top coat, and overcoat. In Manhattan, John Wanamaker Men's Stores, Broadway at 8th and 67 Liberty Street, Saks 34th, Broadway at 34th, in Brooklyn, Abraham and Strauss, in Newark, New Jersey, Boulevard Men's Shop, Kresge, Newark, and in Jamaica, the B&B Clothes Shop, 16408 Jamaica Avenue.
Now let's return to 221B Baker Street, where Count Sylvius and his henchman Sam are discussing their dilemma, while Sherlock Holmes' violin can still be heard in the next room.
He do play pretty, don't he?
Oh, shut up, Sam.
Look here, does this mean that he knows about the stone?
He knows too much about it. I'm not sure he doesn't know everything.
Good Lord.
Ikey Sanders has split.
Oh, he has he? Oh, I'll do him a thickin' for that, see if I don't.
That won't help us now. To make up our minds.
Hey, off him, Mo. He's a leery cove. What if he's listening?
How can he be with that violin squeaking like that?
Oh, sir, there he is, sitting right in that chair.
Rot, it's only a dummy.
Oh, fate, eh? Well, strike me, madam, to swords ain't in it. What's a living spit of him, dressing gown and all?
Oh, shut up. You're wasting our time, and there isn't any too much. He can jail us over the stone.
The deuce he can.
But he'll let us go if we tell him where the stone is.
What? Give up 100,000 quid?
It's one or the other.
He's in there alone. Let's do him in.
He's armed and ready. That's too noisy. He'll never get away. Besides, it's likely the police have whatever evidence he's collected. What was that? I'd have sworn I heard something move over there in the window.
Something in the street, most likely. Oh, look here, Governor. You've got the brains. If slugging's no good, it's up to you.
Yes. I fooled better men than he. The stone is here in my secret pocket. I can get out of England tonight, cut it into 4 pieces in Amsterdam before Sunday. He knows nothing about Van Seda.
But the false bottom ain't ready.
We must chance it as it is. Not a moment to lose. As for Holmes, the fool won't arrest us if he can get the stone. We'll put him on the wrong track. And before he discovers it is wrong, it'll be in Holland. And we'll be out of the country.
Sounds good to me. I wonder you dare carry it.
Where would it be safer?
Let's have a look at it.
What's the idea, huh?
What's up, Matty? You think I'm going to snatch it off you? Now, look here, mister. I'm getting fed up
No
with you.
offense, Sam. We can't afford to quarrel. Now, here. Come over here to the window. Out of the line of that keyhole. Now, there. Hold it to the light. It is a beauty, no?
Thank you, gentlemen.
What? Holmes!
Oh, I thought you said he was a dummy.
Dear me, not very flattering of you, Count. You scowl, you thief. Temper, temper. No violence, gentlemen, please. Consider the furniture. Police are waiting below. But how the deuce? There is a second door to my bedroom behind that window curtain. I thought the game was up when you heard me displace the dummy. I believe you're the devil himself. You flatter me. Ah, but here are our friends from Scotland Yard. Take them away, boys.
Yes, sir. Yeah, but I say, how about the blooming fiddle? It's still playing.
Quite right, Sam. Remarkable invention, the gramophone. Let it play.
Come along, there.
All
Come
right,
on, get moving. That's it.
All right, Watson, you can stop that machine.
I say, Holmes, I've lost at least 5 pounds in the last half hour.
Very beneficial to your waistline. You're becoming disgustingly plump. Look at this.
Why, it's the crown diamond.
Hello, what's up now? Come in, come in. Oh, Mrs. Hudson.
Lord Cantlemere, dear.
What again? Don't he ever let us alone? Well, show him up.
He's up, sir, begging your pardon.
Well, I must say, Holmes, you have most unmannerly people in your household. I ran into a group of ruffians as I was coming to the door.
Oh, that must have been the fellows from Scotland Yard. It's rather warm in here. May I take your overcoat, Lord Cantlemere?
No, quite comfortable, quite comfortable. Furthermore, I have no intention of staying.
Dr. Watson will assure you that these sudden changes of temperature are most insidious.
Get your hands off my coat. I intend to keep it on.
Very well.
I came to see how your self-appointed task is getting on.
It's difficult. Very difficult.
Yes, I suspected you would find it so. Every man has his limitations.
Yes, I've been greatly perplexed.
No doubt.
Especially on one point. But perhaps you can help me.
You apply for my advice rather late in the day. Still, I'm ready to give you the benefit of my opinions.
You understand, we can doubtless frame a case against the actual thieves.
Once you have caught them.
Quite. But the real question is, how shall we proceed against the receiver? What would you regard as the final evidence against the receiver?
The actual possession of the stone, of course.
You would arrest him on that?
Why, certainly.
In that case, my dear Lord Cantlemere, I shall be under the painful necessity of advising your arrest.
Oh, forget yourself, Mr. Holmes. I have no time for such childish jokes. I may tell you frankly, sir, that I have never had any belief in your powers. Good evening.
One moment. Actually, to make off with a Mazarin stone would be even more serious to be found in temporary possession of it.
It is intolerable. Let me pass immediately.
Just put your hand in the right-hand pocket of your overcoat.
What do you mean?
Do as I ask.
Well, however, say, what's this?
Seems to be the Mazarin stone. For shame, sir, for shame.
Well, bless my soul. How in thunder. Well, I'll be...
Undoubtedly. However, I really must apologize. I never could resist a dramatic situation. I took the liberty of slipping the stone into your pocket at the beginning of our interview.
Well, to say I am bewildered is putting it mildly. We are greatly indebted to you, sir, in spite of your somewhat perverted sense of humor. And I certainly withdraw any reflection I may have made on your amazing professional powers. How the deuce you...
The details can wait. I trust your pleasure in relaying news of our success will be some small atonement for my practical joke.
Oh, yes, it will, sir. It will indeed. I can hardly wait to get the good word around. Good day, Mr. Holmes.
Good day, Lord Cantlemere. Watson, will you show his lordship out?
With pleasure.
And tell Mrs. Hudson I should be obliged if you'd send up dinner for 2 as soon as possible.
What an extraordinary story, Dr. Watson, and what a perfect climax.
Yes, Mr. Harris. Holmes always had an eye for the dramatic. Which reminds me, next week's story...
Did you say that next week's story is going to be particularly dramatic, Doctor?
I didn't say it, Mr. Harris, because you interrupted me, but I was going to. Yes, next week I'm going to tell you how the 5-year-old racehorse Blazing Star suddenly dropped dead of old age, and how my youthful prowess in the game of rugby saved Holmes and myself from a diabolical plot of our arch enemy, Professor Moriarty.
makers of Clippercraft clothes and 1,036 leading stores from coast to coast, have brought you another in the new series of broadcasts featuring the world's most famous detective, Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes is produced and directed by Basil Lochran, with special music by Albert Berman. If you don't know your Clippercraft dealer, write Clippercraft, 200 Fifth Avenue, New York City. Be sure to listen next week to Sherlock Holmes in the Case of Sudden Senility. If you'd like to attend the Sherlock Holmes broadcasts in New York, see your local Clippercraft dealer, and he'll tell you how to obtain your tickets. Speaking for Clippercraft Clothes. This is the world's largest network, serving more than 450 radio stations, the Mutual Broadcasting System.
Well, welcome back. Interesting to see Sherlock Holmes using state-of-the-art, early 20th century technology. This particular story set in 1903, and Holmes has a cutting-edge gramophone. It's always interesting and quaint to so many years later hear episodes where detectives use then new technology to throw the villains off the trail. Well, we turn now to listener comments. Jazz BM says, the best OTR podcast out there. Thank you so much for your rating on iTunes. And that will do it today. Reminder, we do host two other old-time radio podcasts, the Old Time Dragnet podcast, with a new episode every Saturday, RadioDragnet.com, and the Old Time Radio Superman Show at LaserandSword.com. Well, some listeners have contacted me and said that they had some difficulty downloading episode 547, Candy Matson episode. That is now resolved, so you can download that. Before we do get started, I want to encourage you. My new ebook is out for those of you who have the Kindle, or if you've got another device such as an iPod and you use the Kindle reading apps, it's available as well. The title is All I Needed to Know I Learned from Columbo. It's a great book for detective fans. We take a look at 8 great detectives and 12 life lessons from their stories. Those covered include Sherlock Holmes, Nero Wolfe, Father Brown, Dan Holliday, Boston Blackie, Columbo, and Monk. So I'm excited about this book. It's available in the Kindle store, and hopefully we'll have it on Smashwords shortly. And it is $1.99. And if we get enough sales of the ebook, we'll look into going with a paperback. There's some more expenses that are involved in the paperback, so we want to see how the ebook does. But get your copy. Title is All I Needed to Know I Learned from Columbo. All right, well, now it's time for today's episode of yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Today's episode is the Kay Belamy matter.
From Hollywood, it's time now for John Lund as Johnny Dollar.
Bird Welch, Johnny. Want to give my regards to Broadway?
You mean tell all the boys at 42nd Street?
No, 46th Street. Want you to run down there and see a theatrical agent named Lou Waltham.
What's the pitch?
Well, he handles a lot of high-priced talent and insures them with us for all sorts of things. Accidents, injuries, misperformances, the usual.
Now, what's the trouble?
Actually, I don't know. I want you to check on an application he made for overall coverage on Kate Belamy.
The singer?
Yeah.
Well, if she looks like she sounds on my record player and radio, I'm going to love this.
And we'd love to insure her. Waltham wants her covered for almost $2 million. Protection against everything up to and including being bitten by a tsetse fly, but...
But what?
The answers to the application questions don't seem to check out. I think we'd like to know a little more about the girl. As a matter of fact, I think Waltham would like to know a little more himself.
Well, that makes 3 of us, because now you got me interested. John Lund in a transcribed adventure of the man with the action-packed expense account. America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to Home Office Hemispheric Insurance Company, Hartford, Connecticut. The following is an accounting of expenditures during my investigation of the K. Belamy matter. Expense account item 1, $22.40. Plane fare and incidentals from Hartford to New York and cab fare to the Madhouse on 46 off Broadway, where Lou Waltham housed his talent enterprises. I ran the gamut of would-be thespians, and his haggard secretary covered my rear valiantly as I plowed my way from the outer office to the inner sanctum.
You're the guy from the insurance company?
Yeah. Is it always like that out there? I think I went suddenly deaf.
Yeah, you're all right. This office soundproof. I'd go nuts if I'd listen to that yammering all day. There's Lou Waltham. Boy Welch told me he was sending you down.
About the policy you want him to write on K. Belamy. He doesn't think the application is as neat as it might be.
Yeah, she's a valuable hunk of talent. I gotta have coverage.
Well, then we need information.
I need some myself. This dame has been a headache from the word go.
Maybe you better tell me about it.
I'll give it to you straight. I picked Kay up, well, a little more than 2 years ago. She was nothing, nobody. Doing a strip and burlesque, singing a song, once in a while. I heard something in her voice, though, something them other guys missed. I signed her, had her trained, got her a good deal. Well, that's my business.
Sure.
She knocks down $1,000 a week on our radio show, more on record. I could put her into the $5,000 class in no time, but...
For what?
Huh? Well, I'm going to tell you. See, she won't let me. She keeps sending me to the aspirin factory. Look, let me tell you this. 2 months ago, I get her a picture deal, Hollywood. Got it all sewed up. Big dough, billing. So what happens? I tell her and she screams like a banshee. No pictures.
What is she, a screwball?
Screwball. Take any nut in that outer office out there, and I'd lay 8 to 5 that handling them would be a vacation after K. Belamy. I may be talking to myself right out of the policy I want. But listen, you want to know something? One of the things she does... Just
Go
one.
ahead.
Figure this, will you? In between her radio shows, she disappears for a whole week. For months, I couldn't never find her except on show days. Till I found out.
Where did she go?
To help me, you can sue me if I'm lying. She spent the time working in burlesque.
What?
Yeah, I mean, $1,000 a week on one radio show, but she goes around playing zip the rest of the time for $75 a week under the name of Don LaValle.
Are you sure?
I followed her. I seen her with my own eyes.
You talked to her about it?
I talked myself blue in her face. She freezes and tells me to mind my own business. She'll go get another agent.
You know, Mr. Waltham, I think you'd better get another insurance company.
Now, look. I do a lot of business with your firm. No trouble. This girl is valuable property. Give me a break, eh? Maybe you could talk to her. Maybe she just hates agents.
All right, Mr. Waltham. Where can I find her?
Boston.
Boston? Doing burlesque in Boston?
Listen, there they need it. Hey, you an expense account?
Yeah, why?
Well, I'll give you a pass to the theater up there. You can knock down the admission price and stick it in your kick, okay?
Thanks. Thanks a million.
What are you laughing? A buck's a buck, ain't it?
Expense account item 2, 1945. Cab and plane fares between Lou Waltham's New York office and the Burley Q Review in Boston, where Kay Belamy, with a little Turkish veil hiding her face on the billboards, was dancing under the name of Don LaValle. The theater was closed in the later afternoon, but the sound of a piano came from the stage door alley. I walked backstage. There was no doorman, so I went through to the wings. Don LaValle was on stage, and the dance she was doing was enough to make me forget the inadequacies of the pianist and the despairing tone of the dance director as he tried to whip the lumbering chorus into a semblance of unity.
All right. 1, 2, 3, keep. 1, 2, 3, keep. Keep in step. Keep in step. Get right a minute. Got it, Sam. Sam, got it. You, Lorraine, which is your left foot, darling? You only got 2. Make a choice.
What do you want for $40 a week? Vera Allen, I'm tired.
You're tired.
Back it up, will you, Luxie? We're all tired. You don't need me for the rest of the numbers, do you?
No, you're all right, Dawn, darling. Go get dressed, sweetheart.
She walked into the wings. moving toward me in the semi-darkness. The piano had stopped, but she carried her own music with her as she moved. And it wasn't burlesque music. This girl was definitely on the symphony side.
All right, girls, now get together and let's...
Miss Belamy?
Step one, straight out.
What did you call me?
Kay Belamy.
All right, Sam.
That is your name, isn't it?
No, mister. Whoever you are. What are you doing back here anyhow? Get out of my way and let me pass.
Look, I just want to talk to you for a minute. My name is Dollar. I'm from Hemispheric Insurance.
Look, Farrell, maybe you didn't hear the lady. She told you to get out of here. Don't get dressed, baby. I'll cool this stage door down and wait for you.
All right, Crow.
You came in the wrong door, Bud. The box office is around front.
Listen, hard boy, I got business here. My name is Dollar.
I know who you are, I know why you're here, and I got reasons why you should blow.
Meaning the gun you're holding in your pocket?
Kay ain't interested in any insurance. Just go tell Lou Walton to insure himself and drop dead.
And if I don't?
The gun can get awful nasty, Mr. Dollar.
All right, Mr. Crow. As long as this isn't a personal matter. But if it ever gets personal, I'm going to feed you a face full of nuts.
I'm glad you said that. I'll tell the boss. Then if you keep nosing around, maybe he'll issue me a special hunting license. Just for you.
The lovable Mr. Crowell had told me two things. One was that he had a boss. And two, Kay Belamy was also taking orders from somebody. I found a cafe around the corner from the theater. When the rehearsal broke, some of the cast wanted in. I went in, too. I got a seat at the counter next to the girl called Lorene.
I just want a cup of coffee when you get a chance, Joe.
Hello.
Hi.
You had a little trouble at rehearsal, didn't you?
Yeah, I always have trouble. Were you there?
Yeah, in the wings. I thought you were doing fine.
That Lutzy gives me a pain. He's always putting on the big act, like he was doing a Hollywood musical or something.
Who's Lutzy?
Lutzy Lazario, the dance director. You saw him. He's over in the corner booth there with Valerie, one of the new girls. He thinks he's a regular Romeo.
Continental type, huh?
Yeah, Continental Brooklyn, if you ask me. He made a play for Dawn, but she brushed him fast.
So Lutzy has a big crush on Dawn, huh?
He'll forget it if he's smart. She's aiming for bigger moose than him.
Like who, for instance?
Some guy named... Oh, hey, that's my date honking for me. Never mind that coffee I ordered, Joe. I gotta go. I'm sorry I can't keep you company.
Oh, that's all right, Lorraine. I think I'll go over to the corner booth and join Lutzy and his girlfriend.
Okay by me if you ain't particular, mister.
No. You know something? Appreciation for the dance is not what I've been accustomed to. If people who knew me as an artist ever found out...
You're Lutzy Lazario, aren't you?
Oh, yes, I'm Lazaro. Didn't I see you backstage during rehearsals?
Yes, I was watching your work.
Oh, that's right, yes. You are in the business?
Well, in a way, I'm doing a little scouting for Lou Walton, the agent. He's got a chance to sell some talent for a big Broadway musical if he can find the right people.
Well, sweetheart, won't you sit down, Mr.
Dollar, Johnny Dollar.
Yeah, Dollar. This is Valerie, Mr. Dollar. She's in the chorus.
This is a great pleasure, Mr. Dollar.
Of course, you don't know it, Lazario, but I've had an eye on you. You and the star of your show, Don Leviathan.
Oh, I am so ashamed that you should find me in such a place. It has been a thing I've been doing, temporarily, waiting for a break.
Yeah, I understand. How about the girl, though, Dawn?
Oh, you can get her to leave here, Mr. Dollar. There ain't as much dough on Off-Broadway as she could get just by marrying a guy that's after her. Besides, if you're looking for a real dancer,
Dawn's boyfriend sounds like big money.
More than just money, Mr. Dollar. Real big shot family. He's Martin Bayard Cullen III.
Her breath was singeing my eyebrows, but it was the name that really made them curl. Martin Bayard Cullen III. Connections with a capital C. Kay Belamy was really moving into the big leagues and doing it the hard way, via a burlesque runway. Didn't add up.
You're wasting your time with Dawn, Mr. Dollar. Besides, I'm a better hoofer than she'll ever be. All I need
I know, Valerie, a break. That's what we all need. Just one good break. I'll see both of you later. Expense account item 3, $5 for a Boston hotel room, since I decided to stay over and see the show at the Bertie Q Review. Expense account item 4, 30 cents. Federal amusement tax to be paid on the pass Lou Waltham had given me for the show. Expense account item 5, 25 cents for a box of the genuine saltwater taffy sold during intermission with a guaranteed prize in each and every box. I got a genuine tin cigar clipper. I watched Kay Belamy, masquerading as Dawn Leviah, take off everything the law would allow except the veil that covered the lower half of her face. Then, emotionally exhausted, I went back to my hotel and slept. It was noon when I was awakened by a knock on the door.
Surprised to see me?
Well, a little, Miss Belamy. You weren't happy with me yesterday.
Well, I was angry with Lou Waltham for sending you. See, Mr. Dollar, I started out in burlesque, and frankly, for some reason, I like it, that's all.
Oh, you must, to mix it with a $1,000-a-week radio career.
Sometimes a farm kid makes good in a big city, gets his own swimming pool. But when he gets a chance, he takes off his shoes and goes wading in the brook.
Sometimes.
That's the way it is with me.
A lie like that ought to get your pretty mouth washed out with soap.
Why should I lie to you? Besides, Lou Waltham has no right to insure me unless I want myself insured, does he? So why don't you forget it? And let's be friends.
Johnny Dollar.
Johnny, Bert Welch. I've had an awful time finding you.
A few more minutes and I put through a call to you, Bert. Think you'd better forget about that Kay Belamy policy Waltham wanted. The lady doesn't want to be insured.
Even if she did, it wouldn't matter now.
What do you mean?
Lou Waltham is dead.
What?
He shot and killed in his private office sometime this morning. Police just found the body.
We'll return you to yours truly, Johnny Dollar, in just a moment. Right now, our country is engaged in all-out effort to fight off aggression and preserve our democratic freedom. The future of America concerns us all. That's why we should all help to make that future as bright as possible. By buying United States defense bonds, you can help make American freedom secure. And at the same time, you'll be automatically saving for your own financial security. Buy an extra bond for defense. Now, with our star John Lund, we bring you the second act of yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
I grabbed the first plane out of Boston and was back in New York by late afternoon. Charlie Dyer from the police lab was going over Lou Waltham's private office with dusting powder and camera.
Some of them actors still outside?
Yeah. Charlie, you find anything?
About 200 sets of fingerprints, all different. This one's going to be fun. Probably turn out that Shakespeare did it.
Well, half the talent in the outer office there might confess if they were sure the last meal is all it's cracked up to be.
Maybe they're waiting to see if we're going to cast pallbearers. Hey, what are you doing here?
Just looking over some papers on the desk, Charlie.
Oh, come off it, Dollar. You know better than that. The lieutenant finds out I let you in here, he'd
All right,
call...
Charlie. Look, just give me one break. You got the keys to this file cabinet?
Yeah, why?
Open it for me, will you? Just this one drawer, A through C. Come on, Charlie. Can't hurt anything.
Oh, there's nothing in those files but contracts, Johnny.
I know. I just want to look up a few things on Kay Belamy.
Singer? You think she did it?
No, but... Well, I want to see the file, that's all. Come on, Charlie, will you? One peek. 5 minutes.
All right. I finished that side of the room anyhow. Go ahead, take the folder you want, Johnny, but I want to see what you're doing.
Here it is. Kay Belamy. Just curious about something.
What?
Why a doll with her voice and face and figure isn't on television?
Oh, for crying out loud. Go out and take a seat on the bench with the rest of those nuts.
I didn't even hear him. Kay Bellamy's contract with Lou Waltham was a dilly. No personal appearances, no club dates, no publicity pictures released without her approval, no studio audiences permitted at her broadcast, no television shows.
Look, Johnny, will you finish that and get out of here?
I'm finished, Charlie.
Why, she ain't on television. If you ask me, she must have a face that'd blow out the transmitter.
What makes you say that?
Pictures of her in the photo file.
Where?
Bottom drawer there says photos.
I want to see those, too, Charlie.
There's nothing to see. Hats with veiled silhouettes, even in the newspaper clippings. She must really be ugly. Yeah, there's the only shot without a veil. Her and some guy wearing big hats. Shadow all over the faces.
Mexican sombreros. Mule and cart in the background. This must have been snapped in Mexico.
Come on, put him back, Johnny, and clear out. There's nothing to see.
He was wrong. There was something to see in that Mexican photo, all right. Not Kay Bellamy's face, but her hand, holding the rim of the sombrero. And on the hand, a wedding ring. Expense account item 7. Same as items 2 and 6. 1945, cab and plane fare between New York and Boston. I made the plane just in time and then got another little shock. There was a vacant seat on the aisle. I took it. The window seat was occupied by a dancer named Valerie.
Well, I fancy meeting you here, Mr. Dollar.
You better fasten that seatbelt. You're a long way from Boston, aren't you?
Well, I flew down this morning. He said Mr. Waltham was looking for people for a show, so I thought I ought to see him.
Did you?
No, Well, you must know about the murder and police and everything.
I know about the murder and the police, but not everything. You want to fill me in?
I don't know what you're talking about.
What time was it when you went to see Waltham?
I don't remember exactly. Afternoon. Police were outside the building. I heard what happened. I didn't even go up.
Too bad you weren't there earlier. Like between 8 and 9 this morning when the police think he was killed.
What would he be doing in his office so early?
It was his hour for thinking, before the arrival of the howling mob. Didn't you know that?
Well, how would I know it?
Ah, maybe you would. It was a thing that was known only by his better clients, like Fay Belamy, or friends. Which plane did you take from Boston to New York this morning?
Why don't you ask the airlines? Leave me alone, I'm in mourning.
For Lou Waltham?
Maybe for you, honey. Maybe for you.
A lot of people were tying up together, and they were all tying around Kay Belamy. But there was still no sign of the payoff. I had to find out where Martin Bayard Cullen III came into the picture. When we reached Boston, I taxied out to the exclusive Back Bay mansion that had housed the Cullens for generations. Martin III received me in the library.
Your card says you're an insurance investigator. Whatever your business is, I would prefer it if you would take the matter up with my business counselors.
Well, it's the kind of business they might know about. I want some information about a girl you've been seeing.
What girl and what sort of information?
Dawn Levi at the Burley Q Review.
I'll answer any questions concerning Dawn.
Look, Cullen, this is important. A man has been murdered.
Are you implying that Dawn is involved in a murder?
I'm not implying. I'm saying it right out.
Are you going to get out of here, Mr. Dollar, or shall I throw you out?
Now, don't try. You might bend your suit. You're being a sucker about your lady love, Cullen. She's been working you for something, hasn't she? Some kind of a favor? Something?
Why, yes.
What kind of a favor? Maybe the key to a murder, Cullen. You may help her later if she's involved, but you can't cover for her.
All right. There's a man in the federal penitentiary. Her uncle. His name is Fred Belamy. She asked me to use my influence to have him moved from a West Coast prison to one in the East where members of the family will be able to visit him.
Fred Belamy?
That's right. You think you can make murder out of that?
Listen, chum. Do you think Dawn Levi is really her name?
I never asked, frankly.
Well, you should have. Not that she'd have told you. But her real name is Kay Belamy.
Kay Belamy.
And 5 will get you 10 that Fred Belamy is her husband, not her uncle.
If he was married, the police would have known it.
Not if he was married in Mexico.
But he's been in jail for 5 years.
Yeah. And an eyewitness who helped to convict him swore that a girl drove the getaway car. You've been out with her, Cullen. She ever show her face in public?
I know. She always wears a hat with a veil. She never liked crowded places. I have been taken in, haven't I?
Happens to the best of us. But for your sake, I hope you didn't try to arrange that favor.
I'm afraid I did, though. Belamy should be aboard a train headed east right now.
Well, then you better call everybody you know in Washington and get them to call out the Marines or something, because somebody's going to make a pitch to yank Belamy off that train. But it still didn't solve the murder of Lou Waltham. He'd found out the same things. That was certain. But how? I kept thinking about it on my way down the gravel driveway from the Cullen house. Then I reached the street and started to think of another murder. One that looked like it was just about to take place. My own.
All right, Nosey. Head for that car and climb in.
You're a busy little fella, aren't you, Crow?
Yeah, I asked the boss for that special hunting license, like I said. And I got it. You ain't gonna like this ride. They're crawling behind the wheel. All right, start it and get going.
Too bad you have to work so hard all alone, Kroll. I just found out why you haven't had more company.
I can handle you alone, Buster.
I don't know. You look like part of a gang, Kroll. You're the type. But the rest of the boys are out meeting a train someplace, aren't they? The Fred Belamy special.
Oh, I know your mouth has to be zippered. It'll be getting nice and dark soon. Take a road out of town. Let's see a little country.
Sure. Going fast enough for you?
And I'll get funny. Slow down.
Why? I like the breeze.
You want this gun barrel across your teeth?
No, but I don't want the bullet you're planning to give me either. It's got me scared. When I get scared, I get crazy. I don't like the idea of dying alone.
You trying to bluff me?
No. You ever hit the back of a 10-ton truck at 80 miles an hour?
No, smart guy.
Well, you're going to, smart guy, because there's one right in front of us. He turned his eyes away from me and saw the back of the truck looming up suddenly in the dusk. For a minute, fear paralyzed him. Then he gave a wild shriek and opened the door and jumped. He yanked the wheel hard, and the car missed the truck by inches. But Kroll didn't. His leap had smashed him right into the back of it. I felt my heart kicking up at something in my throat. I turned the car around and drove back to the Burley Q Review at 15 miles an hour. Hello, Kay.
Oh, it's you.
Yeah. Tired of running, Kay?
Yeah, tired.
Your husband isn't going to get off that train. The gang will be picked up, too.
I know. I just had a phone call from Martin Bayard Cullen III. It made me feel like it. It was rotten. I did it because I had to.
Your husband wasn't going to let you enjoy the comforts of life while he rotted away in jail, was that it?
Yes. He let me take the radio job because he thought he might be able to buy his way out with the money.
Out of a federal pen? He was dreaming.
I'm glad it's over. He had Kroll and the other boys watching me. Told him to keep me working in burlesque. Make things rough for me. So I'd never forget what a bad time he was having.
I'd better call the police, Kay.
You don't have to, Mr. Dollar. I called him myself 2 minutes ago. I'm just waiting. Okay, you've seen the farewell performance. Now, why don't you leave me alone? Please.
Sure.
Oh, Mr. Dollar.
Oh, hello, Butsy.
Oh, say, I heard the terrible news about Mr. Waltham. Such a terrible thing.
Yeah.
I know you worked for him. I know how badly you must feel. Oh, tell me something. Are you taking over the business? Will you be looking for the people for that show?
I'll let you know. Is Valerie around?
Yeah, in the manager's office, just over there. Mr. Kroll's office. You know Mr. Kroll?
Yeah. I met him around a couple of times. Thanks. Hello, Valerie.
You. Where's Kroll?
I don't know for sure. Maybe out on the highway, maybe in the morgue by now.
The morgue?
His hunting license expired. You lost your boyfriend.
He was nothing to me.
No? Then why did you follow me to Cullen's house and then tip him off that I was there?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Let's try something else then. You went to New York with him when he killed Waltham, but you took different planes coming back.
All right. So he killed Waltham, and now he's dead. What does that make me?
An accessory.
No. No, look. Listen to me, Mr. Dollar. I didn't know what he was going to do. I didn't even know why he was going to see Waltham. First I knew it was trouble was when I was sitting in the outer office and I heard them yelling, and then I heard a shot.
You mean Kroll was in the private office with Waltham? You didn't see them together?
I couldn't. The door was closed.
Too bad you heard that shot then, because it makes you sound like a liar. Waltham's private office was completely soundproof.
I see.
Oh, sure. You're a nice, peaceful girl, all right. Let go of it. That's better. Police will be here soon with a wagon. You better put something on so you don't catch cold. And that's about it for the bump and grind artists. Lou Waltham never insured himself because he had nobody to leave it to, so there's no loss there. Of course, the K. Belamy policy was never issued. You lose a fat premium, but don't fret over it. Clause 42A would have cost you a mint, the one about missing performances. She'll be missing them for the next 10 years. I guess your total loss lies in my expense account. Item 8, $43 miscellaneous. Item 9, $6.10 train fare from Boston back to Hartford, Connecticut. Please note that I did not charge you for the admission pass that Waltham gave me to the Burley Q Review, nor did I charge you cab fare from the Cullen Mansion to town, since Kroll provided car service. Expense account total, $135.40. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, stars John Lund in the title role and was written by Joel Murcott with music by Eddie Dunstetter. John Lund can currently be seen in the Universal International picture Just Across the Street. Featured in tonight's cast were Raymond Burr, Benny Rubin, Jay Novello, Gene Bates, Hy Everback, Sandra Gould, and Gloria Blondell. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, is transcribed in Hollywood by Jaime Del Valle.
This is the CBS Radio Network.
Welcome back. Well, this was actually, I thought, a very impressive performance by John Lund. He did a lot of things with his voice, put a lot of feeling into this, so this was a solid performance by him. I did think that the guy who jumped out of the speeding car had to be extremely desperate, and that was probably the most intense Lund had gotten so far. 80 miles an hour, an impact either way, you're pretty likely to be done for. I did like how he mentioned that car fare was not included in his expense account for that one spot when he was kidnapped. Well, for those of you who have the app or our premium site, we'll have a John Lund Extra. I still haven't decided quite what is this as of this recording. I'm recording 8 days before the fact. But there's nothing specifically Christmassy, but I do feel like something a little bit lighter. And then we might do some suspense for our John Lund special for next month. We'll have, as always, 3 of these app extras. Receive a comment from Larry, who says, so I make a comment on this episode, the Cuban Jewel Manor. I think I read this last week or perhaps the week before, but I discover yet another coincidence while listening to Richard Diamond, the Evans Farmer matter from August 23rd, 1950. I realized that this Diamond is essentially the same story rebroadcast not quite a year later as yours truly, Johnny Dollar, The George Farmer matter. Odd how things seem to migrate from NBC to CBS over the course of the year. Well, thanks so much. It had a lot to do with the writers. You think about the demands of coming up with 50, in the case of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, you're looking at 48 to 52 plots per year. And if you're a writer and you're talented, you can go ahead and make a few changes in a plot and sell it again. And you're going to always, when you have that many, you're going to have some of that. I should note, you consider today when you got into, say, the age of television, you had 39 episode seasons kind of become dominant. And then if you went a little bit further, that kept going down. You have 22 episode season, and then on Monk, you had 16 episode seasons. So it was a great phenomenon. I will say Johnny Dollar was the chief, the chief show for repeats. You'll hear a lot of programs on Johnny Dollar that were, where they'll reuse old scripts of Johnny Dollar. They'll reuse or expand scripts from Sam Spade, Nightbait. We heard one from Voyage of the Scarlet Queen. It's it's an amazing thing about the show. And I think the reason, I touched on it last week, the reason you get away with it, you don't have this kind of, I didn't have this kind of fan culture where, people were, seriously, up on all this. And, no reruns. Oh, that was the world they lived in. But we'll hear a lot of repeats on Johnny Dollar, and probably more than any other program. Greg sends an email, says, your show provides much sanity when obliged to follow my bride of 27 years shopping. Why was Nero Wolfe limited to only 25 shows? Or are there most shows? I think this show surpasses every other show, although I love them all. Well, there was one more of the new adventures of Nero Wolfe with Sidney Greenstreet. That's the one lost episode, and some collectors have part of that episode, but I don't, and the full episode is missing. And there are certainly other lost episodes of the three previous Nero Wolfe series, of which we played two. But it was limited to 26 episodes, and it had trouble, I think, finding an audience. NBC in the 1950s had a lot of series where there are only 26 episodes made. There's Rocky Fortune. There was Crime and Peter Chambers. They were trying a lot of shows. Radio programs just were not surviving or making it very well. And Nero Wolfe was one that never made it more than a season on radio in any of the incarnations. And we have a few more comments from Podcast Alley. Hi, Adam. I've been listening to the show for a few years now. I began listening to your Dragnet podcast about a year ago and stumbled on this one also. They are among my many favorites, and I truly enjoy listening every day. Thank you for all your hard work, and have a very Merry Christmas. Well, you as well. Thanks, Adam. Your comments are witty and informative. Your choices are intriguing, and I get a real kick out of your personality all around. I'm very grateful for what you are offering. From Tony in Toronto. And Jeff says, my compliments to Adam Graham and his variety of old-time radio podcasts, particularly the Great Detective series. I've been listening to radio podcasts since I found the Hyman Brown CBS Radio Mystery Theater broadcast as a child, and was so happy to have found these podcasts again. I listen every night. Thank you. Well, thanks so much, Jeff, and glad to continue to provide you with some great mysteries. And that will do it for this week. We will be back on Sunday with our video theater. This one is called Racket Squad. It's the Christmas caper. I think you'll enjoy it. A nice introduction to the series, a somewhat more heartwarming episode. Join us on Monday for Barrie Craig Confidential Investigator. And then on Friday, it's another adventure with the man with the action-packed expense account with yours truly, Johnny Dollar. In the meanwhile, if you have a comment, send it to box13 at greatdetectives.net, Twitter, follow at Radio Detectives, and give us a call, 208-991-4783. But from Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham, signing off.